Quite arguably, the most important thing in fantasy football is ADP, but not to draft off ADP. When I say use ADP to your advantage or go best player available, people sometimes will say, "Hey Smitty, does that mean I'm taking the top ranked guy suggested when I'm on the clock?" That's robotic drafting. That's a robotic Roger. I'm telling you to take the best player available according to you. And I'm saying take advantage of ADP, draft around ADP, manipulate ADP so that you can wait on guys and grab them later when you can. Reach on a player when maybe you say to yourself, look, they're worth it, but I'm not going to get them at the next pick. I'm going to take them early. It's okay to do a combo. And today's show, a series we'll do weekly here on the channel, sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a week. Maybe we need to do it 2 or 3 times a week some weeks if ADP is fluctuating. But we just had the NFL draft. We just had Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty drafts open up. I'm going to drop the link right in the chat right now for anybody who wants to do drafts using the promo code. They'll double up to $100 in your first deposit. Code Smitty gets it done. And you're looking at the Underdog ADP. There's no better ADP than Underdog ADP. Link in description, link in the live chat. Why? Because these are paying drafts. A mock drafter is going to jump in and out of drafts, quit after 2 or 3 rounds, do some stupid strategy and then bail on it. And then what happens? The ADP data that's driving the pre-rank takes over, computer teams take over, and then the computer compiles more bad ADP data on bad ADP data. Whereas on Underdog Fantasy, these are paying customers. People are paying 20, 25, 10. Sometimes they'll roll a $5 and a $3 draft, but good money to draft. People are drafting the entire way through the draft. The data could not be more accurate. Even if it's best ball versus redraft, it's still important enough data that it actually trumps regular non-best ball data because that data is bunk. So here we are discussing ADP steals inside the top 20. The series will be brought to you weekly. Sometimes we'll talk about deep ADP sleepers. Sometimes we'll talk about top 10 ADP sleepers. Sometimes we'll talk about ADP avoids. We'll change the topic up. And this one's going to be top 25. Let's get into it. File on in. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Live whenever news breaks. Live graveyard shifts with all of you. I absolutely love being here during graveyard shift.
You're watching a
graveyard stream.
Graveyard streams are usually about midnight Eastern. That's kind of how we roll. We built this Smitty on graveyard shows as the song goes. And, that's how we built the channel back in the day. 5 years ago, I think. We did nothing but midnight streams. It was fantastic. We have a big graveyard crew in here. Hit that thumb up button on your way in the door. And let's get to it, okay? Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty if you want to check it out. Link in the description of the video here. The link is in the live chat right there. Make sure you're signing up because when we jump on a draft, you will not have time, young man. You will not have time to sign up. So click the link now and do it live. For anybody that doesn't know what ADP is average draft position. That's all it is. Where are these guys going on average? The suggested rank is also ADP on almost any platform. So you can sort it by your own rankings if you do input your own rankings, etc., etc. But if you're drafting on any platform, the suggested rank is also usually almost always ADP, average draft position. Every platform is going to be a little different, but dare I say Sleeper or other platforms that have a bunch of mock drafters that leave the draft and it's not accurate like it used to be. It really isn't. The best ADP, the only ADP is Underdog ADP, promo code Smitty. And when I look at these paying drafts, this average draft position data driven by paying customers, the first player that comes to mind, Christian McCaffrey, no. Lamb, no. Tyreek Hill, no. Jamar Chase, you're kind of getting to like a little bit of value. Smitty, you can have a value in round 1. You certainly can, Bob. You can. You're talking about micro movement here, Okay, you're talking about 12 picks, 1 or 2 spots of value is still in some cases, 10, 15, 20% of the entire draft at that point. So in the top 10, if someone's 2 spots lower than they should be, that's 20% value that you can get if you're on top of things. So don't think you can't talk about even round 1 on a weekly basis if you wanted to. We're not going to do that, though. We're going to talk about all different topics. This is a top 25 ADP show. Maybe next time will be some ADP avoids in the top like 30 or 40. We'll do that one next. But looking at this draft, the first person, no, not Bijan. He is probably my favorite ADP value in the first like 20 or so. But JJ is the first hint of value. You start getting to a place where you could say this is the number 1 player in the entire league. And he really is, but he's sitting in an unknown world right now, led by JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy is the king of his world. And while I think it's a huge upgrade from what we thought it could be, Sam Darnold, worst case scenario, absolute nightmare scenario, it's still kind of unknown to people. And he's a rookie. He's building rapport. I mean, being a rookie, having no rapport, learning a new offense. Minnesota kind of, we kind of don't know what they are without Kirk Cousins. There's a lot of unknowns. New running back learning the system. A lot of chances for mistakes when you have a new RB trying to pass protect. New offense. New rookie QB. JJ trying to learn, how to play with him. Hawkinson coming back from a torn ACL. This is all like a lot of moving parts that have some like inconsistency and some troubled waters, potentially struggle bus type opening month of football. But at the same time, JJ, if JJ McCarthy is even remotely close to what some people think he could, I don't really share that opinion. I think he's good. I think his best days will be Goff or Stafford, but that's not me saying he's a lock to be that. That's a good quarterback. If he can get to a Stafford type level, that's fantastic return on investment. But people were talking about him being the 2nd or 3rd overall pick, and that was where I drew the line. I don't mind where he went. I think he's a good value. I think 4th or 5th quarterback taken, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Las Vegas gets him, that's good too. Like if that were to happen for Adams and Mayer and etc. But JJ has a nice little value upside cost versus reward ratio. And if he's going 5 to 6 overall, sometimes 7. I see him sometimes go like 7. That's fantastic when you can literally climb the entirety of the draft board at that point and be the number 1 overall player. So I really, really do like this value. I never draft JJ at 6 or 7. Raise your hand if you agree with me. Or put a fire emoji, put an eggplant emoji, put a hand up, whatever, thumb up. Has anybody ever felt dirty or filthy or embarrassed or ashamed of themselves or regretful Roger by drafting JJ at 6 or 7? I know I haven't. I know every time I draft JJ at 6 or 7, I feel like glory. I feel like I just ate a 8-course meal and went running and didn't even have to go running, but went running anyway. Somehow my body went running without me. I come back, I'm in shape. I've eaten an 8-course meal. I feel great. I don't feel weighed down. I don't feel upset, depressed, regretful. I don't have any knee-jerk reactions. I just feel great. There's nothing wrong with JJ at 6 or 7. It's one of the most fantastic, safe ways to go. You go wide receiver. Some people want to go wide receiver with one of their first 2 picks, and I don't blame people because wide receivers in best ball specifically get scooped up. I don't think it's the best strategy to just draft a position, but because other people do, they do get scooped up quickly. So drafting wide receiver is a lot of people's instinct in round 1, and when you can get JJ at 6 or 7, it feels like glory. There's no regret. There's no shame. It feels amazing, as does drafting Bijan. And Bijan, we just did a show on this, so I won't dance around this too much, but Bijan Robinson is, in my opinion, a Saturn man by now. A guy that finished running back 9, 14, 63, and 8 touchdowns. Unbelievable stats when you really think about it. 58 receptions, 14, 63, 8 touchdowns. I think he has over 2,000 total yards, 1,400 rushing, 80 receptions, 650 receiving, or 550 to 650, 5 to 6 touchdowns, 11 to 12 rushing, touchdowns. That's a 18 to 20 touchdown season, 2,000 total yards, 80 receptions. I don't even understand how his value doesn't climb ahead of like one or two of the receivers at least. I understand he's the second running back being taken, but he's being taken on average around 6, 7. McCaffrey 1, Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill 3, Chase 4, JJ 5. So Bijan's going, even though his ADP says 5.8, he's going 6 here in the rank. But I've seen him go 7. I've even seen him go 8. I've even seen him go 9 once or twice. But 6, 7, 8 on the regular. And you grab Bijan Robinson in the middle of round number 1, and you have that middle pick in round 2, and you come back around and you get Marvin Harrison Jr. probably won't last there, but sometimes he does. Usually he's going around 11, 12, 13 now, which we'll talk about that in a second. But that's going to bump down potentially St. Brown a little bit, maybe not. That could bump down Garrett Wilson, maybe not. That could maybe bump down. St. Brown's probably going to be the guy that gets bumped down the least from that Marvin Harrison Jr. move up. But Gibbs gets bumped down with Marvin going up. Puka, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, usually it's one of those guys that could make it to your Bijan Robinson adjacent pick in round 2. The pick coupled with that number 5, 6, 7. And man, obviously the later you get down, the more likely you're going to be able to get that guy. Because if you get Bijan at 7 or 8, probably 7 is where you're kind of pushing it. Then your second rounder is a little higher. So you can maybe get Puka. I've gotten Puka and Bijan before. I get Garrett Wilson a ton. I get A.J. Brown once in a while. Marvin Harrison Jr. if we're lucky. So Bijan Robinson, JJ by far the 2 best values on the board so far inside the top 10. You start scrolling down. I love St. Brown, but it doesn't feel like the same kind of value. I want to use this sparingly. Just because I like a guy, just because I think I'd draft St. Brown here without hesitation doesn't mean he's a steal. Not everybody can be a steal. Breece Hall.
Mashed potatoes.
I don't really know who's better. This year, let alone ADP wise. I think because we don't know if Breece Hall's the running back 1 or Bijan's the running back 1, they really are arguable. And we're about to say the same thing about Gibbs, who's even further down. But because you can get Breece Hall later, he kind of is a better value than Bijan Robinson. And dare I say, Breece Hall has a much higher likelihood of making that 12-13 turn. Not very often. It's kind of a blessing in disguise. It's kind of one of those things where you literally drop your drink or you let out a mother, when you see it happening and you're on the clock at 12 and you see Breece Hall slip to 11, then he gets taken. Or you get lucky enough, you fall down, you faint, you wake up and you're still looking at Breece Hall. It wasn't a dream. He's there at 12-13. This is pretty nuts that he'll fall this far. And on the average, and usually with these averages, again, you have about a 2 or 3 player buffer. If this is where Breece Hall is going on average, 1 or 2 times out of 5 or 6, he will fall 1 or 2 spots lower than where he's going right now at McCaffrey 1, Lamb 2, Hill 3, Jamar Chase 4, Jefferson 5, Bijan 6, St. Brown 7, Breece Hall 8. So that means that on average, not the best case scenario, on average, he's going number 9. Yeah, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 or 9. Which means that he could go 9 or 10, maybe 11. I've seen it 12. I have seen it. That's awesome. That's the best value so far. In order probably of how they're being listed. JJ, best value. Once we got to JJ, once we got to Bijan trumped him a little bit. Once we got to Breece Hall trumped both of them a little bit. And as we go down the stream here, Puka, I don't want to say Puka's not good value, but I don't think this screams the same kind of. This is like you need him to do something amazing, and he's probably going to, but the value's not quite the same. It's like you pay, you get what you pay for, and you get something amazing, and you're paying something kind of high. Hall just has the value, the ability to be this number 1 RB. Bijan has the value to be this number 1 RB. Puka Nacua, I feel like this is where Puka Nacua does live and will live, and that's good. Same thing with A.J. Brown. Garrett Wilson, same thing with Garrett Wilson. Could Garrett Wilson be right there where Puka is? Yeah, but that's, 1-2 spots. I don't anticipate Garrett Wilson being right here or here at the end of the year at 2 or 3 overall or something like that, whereas Bijan and Brees, I can't envision that. So that's why, Puka, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, these three are great picks. They're not screaming steals, but they're good picks. I'm not avoiding them at all at those ADPs, but they don't scream value like Jahmyr mother freaking Gibbs. And there's science behind this, guys. This isn't me just running my mouth. There's actual algorithmic data that tells you why this is a steal. I've compiled it for a good year and a half now, and it's right here. But the continuum of the gigawatt component structure of Jahmyr Gibbs' workload divide has a megawatt offload that if you compartmentalize the component conjunction timekeeper and you flux capacitor out the continuum component megabolt, things just end up happening. And that's why Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 5 to 10 running back instead of top 60. This man, Jahmyr Gibbs, he looks better than Kamara looked coming out of college, more prepared to become Kamara.
Smitty, did you just say Gibbs was more prepared to become Kamara than Alvin Kamara?
Got him.
Literally the only man that I believe we have 4 different animations for. We have 4 different video animations and cartoons for Jahmyr Gibbs, which is a record. There's a reason I spent probably 8 hours of my life ignoring family, not going to dinner parties, just sitting in this space right here that I've created for myself, this world that I've created for myself. Best job in the world, not complaining at all. But there's a reason I spent 8 hours of my life compiling cartoons for all of you, and 4 of them for that man, because he might just be the most interesting man in the world, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Let's go, mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy.
Not much more to say other than, okay, there is. Let's go on a rant. I was going to say, I've said everything that needs to be said, but who in the hell cares? First in top 3 running back finishes in 2023. Does anybody understand what that means? He was first in top, tied with McCaffrey, him and McCaffrey, but it wasn't like a long list of ties. It was McCaffrey and Gibbs tied for first place in top 3 finishes. But the most interesting thing is he was second in top 5 running back finishes with 6, right? But all of those 6 were top 3 finishers. so you almost need to just throw out the top 5 finishes, because every single one of the 6, every single one of them was a top 3 finish. It really is remarkable data when you look at it. Let me show you the stats, because the stats don't lie. Right down here, didn't do anything. This isn't his fault. Any layman or casual Caleb comes in here and sees these 4 games and then these 2 missed games. They don't know what they're looking at. They just probably think, oh yeah, he kind of did. No, he didn't get used. He didn't get used until week 7. In week 7, he was running back 3. In week 8, he was running back 1. Week 9, I mean, he probably was running back 10 on his bye week. That's how good he was on fire. The remnants of what he was doing carried over. We don't even have the data on this. It might be in the algorithm. I don't know. Bye week 9, not his fault. Week 10, running back 2. Week 11, running back 3. Does anybody even comprehend? Because it's hard for me to even do it, and I'm the one that created this screen here. Can anybody truly grasp that he was running back 3, 1, 2, and 3 in back-to-back-to-back-to-back contests? I mean, really, it's unbelievable. It's like head-scratchingly amazing. And he was tied for 4th in top 10 running back finishes. First in top 3 finishes, second in top 5, tied for 4th place out of all the running backs in the National Football League for top 10 running back finishes. And he didn't do a single thing until week 7. And in week 17 and 18, there wasn't much usage. So really, when you look at Gibbs's game log, Didn't play here. Didn't play until week 7. It is unreal to think that when he was utilized, he had 2 bad games, week 12 and week 13. He had 2 bad games in this entire stretch of games right here. Even this week 15 game was pretty decent. It's not redlined, it's orange, because he's an absolute monster. And I guess sometimes I look at this data and I say to myself, what in the hell am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life that has me not ranking this guy number 1 overall? How, like, someone come in here and call in a minute and try and argue Jahmyr Gibbs against me for number 1. I'm going to flip the script and say, as much as I love Bijan, as much as I love Breece Hall, as much as I love Kyron, how is Gibbs not running back 1 overall walking into 2024? I need someone to come in and argue this. Don't come in and just try and be devil's advocate. I want somebody that truly wants to come in and get all scared about Monty. You're not giving Monty any respect. I had a couple of people in my comments of my last Gibbs video or Gibbs rant saying, you need to give Monty his respect, Smitty. Come on. give Monty his respect. Why do I have to give Monty respect? I'm not saying I'm disrespecting Monty, but Monty has nothing to do with this conversation, nor did Monty have all of that good of a season. And he's getting older. The wear and tear is real. He got injured massively twice last year. He was running back 16 in week 1, running back 21 in week 2, got injured. He really only, our memories don't even serve us properly. He only had 2 good games last year. He had 3 mediocre right here. Mediocre. Or really 2 mediocre. The 15's not that good. 15s are not good. 17, not good. 26, 23, 22, 28, 45, 16, 21. He had two really good games last year. Our memory serves us thinking this guy was consuming a lot for a while. Remember that feeling you had when people came in here in weeks 3, 4, 5 and said, Smitty, and 6 even, you're wrong. The back to own was David Montgomery. How do you feel? Are you taking your lap yet? I said, no, I don't run on week 7 or week 6. I run at week 18. I run during the playoff. I don't go on my run until later, because this man didn't start the race until week 7 and still finished like an absolute monster. Like, someone argue with me that he is not the best running back in the National Football League, Jahmyr Gibbs. And if anybody thinks this man right here is the threat, open your eyes and start using them. Because right in front of your face is data that tells you Monty was a threat only 2 games. And even upon his return in week number 10. Oh, look at that. Looky here, reindeer. Jahmyr Gibbs is running back 2 upon Monty's return. Oh, Monty, week 11. Oh, looky here. Week 11, he's number 3. In 15, 17, those are 2 kind of bad games for the team in general. Week 14, 26. Gibbs outperformed him again, number 15. Week number 15, Gibbs was 3. Week 15, Monty was 23. Week 16, Monty was 15. Gibbs was 3. Week 16, Monty was 15, and Gibbs was 3. Get out of here. Get out of here with your nothing burger take on Monty threatening Jahmyr Gibbs. I might have just convinced myself that Jahmyr Gibbs is the number 1 running back in the National Football League. What am I doing with my life? Did I mention promo code Smitty gets you up to $100 bonus match dollar for dollar? Did I mention that it helps the channel more than you know? Did I mention that when we draft live on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, you have to be signed up ahead of time and hit that link, do it live. We got a casual in here. You act like Gibbs is Kenneth Walker, that third, rolling on the floor, laughing. Gibbs sucked last year, to be honest. Warren. Here's Warren. Here's Warren's contribution to the show tonight. Gibbs sucked last year. Gibbs sucked like Samuel. Debo sucks. AZ sucks. Gibbs sucks. Warren, I know this is your first year playing fantasy football. You haven't dove into it yet. I know this is your first year watching the NFL too. We're here for you, bro. And I'd love to help you learn about the game, not only the game, but also learn about players and the values and what it means when someone scores a touchdown, etc. I'm here for you. Like, I can't even get mad at somebody that doesn't know better. Like Warren doesn't know better. Doesn't. Like, you can tell. Like, what, are you going to yell at someone like that? No, you give them a hug. You walk them through it. You hold their hand. You hold their hand. You don't be mean to them. Warren, we got you, bro. We got you, bro. We got you. This poor guy. Okay, let's get back to the ADP. So Gibbs, let me just finish on Gibbs real quick because Warren needs to hear this. He needs to know what he's looking at because he obviously didn't even watch football last year, but it's okay. We got your back, Warren. 2024 projection, I'm going to say 1,100 rushing yards, which feels small now. I think I'm upping this to like 1,300, especially for Warren. 5.5 a carry, 12 touchdowns on the ground. Sounds about right. 70 receptions, 510, 4 TDs. That's a total of 16 touchdowns. I think that sounds right. I think this is an easy number to hit. This is an easy number to hit. Hey, Warren, find one person in here that agrees with you. One person. He says, okay, dude. Find one person. One person. I want to know if Gibbs is fast. Well, you clearly don't know football or anything about Gibbs, but yeah, he's pretty quick. He's okay. He's okay, Warren. Actually, Warren, there's something you need to know about him. But the continuum of the gigawatt component structure of Jahmyr Gibbs' workload divide has a megawatt offload that if you compartmentalize the component conjunction timekeeper and you flux capacitor out the continuum component megabolt, things just end up happening. And that's why Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 5 to 10 running back instead of top 6 to 10. I mean, Warren is science, baby. It's science, it's biology, it's chemistry, it's gigawatts. It's basically calculus multiplied by a scientific method that's divided by chemistry. That's all that is going on here. It's not that hard. You get a couple degrees in biology, science, and literature, and you mix them all together, and you can understand this stuff pretty easily. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult, bro. Gibbs is going to explode. Gibbs is going to rise. Gibbs is the best running back in the National Football League. Marvin Harrison Jr. getting drafted at the 12-13 turn. That's McCaffrey 1, Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill 3, Jamar Chase 4, Jefferson 5, Bijan 6, Amon-Ra 7, Breece Hall 8, Puka 9, A.J. Brown 10, Garrett Wilson 11, Jahmyr Gibbs 12, and then Harrison's 13. And Rock Out with the $2 holler. Rock Out says Gibbs 80 receptions. That's we got on the board. I agree with you. Rock Out to the moon. So player 13 overall. The problem though is this data seems to be a day behind because I've done about 10 drafts so far in the last 48 hours, and Harrison Jr. has gone 10, 11, 12, 11, 10. 13, 14, 13, 12. I don't think he's gone at 15 one time in those drafts, and he's gone inside the top 12. 12 or higher. The most I've seen him go is 10, I think. Yeah, I think it was 10. But he's gone 10 a couple times, and he's gone inside the top 12, I would say at least half of those drafts. So my guess is that he jumps up one. But if he jumps up one, that means Gibbs falls one more draft slot. So tomato, tomato. Tomato. So, good God, I mean, Harrison Jr., he's still, like, the crazy part about Harrison Jr. is he still kind of has value. Like, he's not like, I don't feel like I'm overreaching here. This is a generational talent. This is the number one wide receiver in the National Football League of a 1 calendar year from today. 1 calendar year from today, I believe he's ranked higher than Lamb. I believe he's ranked higher than Tyreek Hill because he'll be older, even a redraft. I think he'll be higher than Jamar Chase because he'll feel more consistent. Chase has got to prove healthy, and if he does, he could definitely rival him for wide receiver 1 next year. JJ still got JJM. Honestly, this is by far and away my number 1 wide receiver in Dynasty 2025, but maybe my number 1 wide receiver overall in 2025 redraft. I think he's going to be that good. Okay, we'll just... Warren, we tried to give you a chance, Warren. Harrison Jr. is still a value. Is he a screaming steal ADP value? I can't say that at 13, 12. I can't, but I can definitely say I'm not hesitating on drafting him at the 12, 13 turn. I can honestly say I'm not hesitating on drafting him at even 11, 12, 13, 14. Like, I'm still drafting him there. It's definitely paying top dollar. It's definitely drafting him at a ceiling, but it doesn't mean it's not good value. Barkley, he's been unfortunately climbing. So we said Harrison's 13. This puts Barkley at 14. I liked it better when he was at 15, 16, 17, 18. I know it's only one spot different, but I liked him better the further down you went in the round, but I still like him a lot. Like, if I went wide receiver like JJ, or let's say I went Puka or Amon-Ra, and I'm sitting there worried about my RB, I could take Barkley at the top of round 2. I think it's almost value 2. I think it's almost the kind of value that he could be top 5 running back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's kind of slotted right. So top 5 running back, he's right there. So I would say he's got a little value, but he doesn't have the kind of value you would say he's one of the biggest top 5 ADP steals. He's going pretty high and he's worth it, but he's just going pretty high. We swing on over to the second half of this show, really, and then we open phone lines and have conversation. But Drake London feels like the complete opposite of value. Doesn't mean he can't, kind of like Harrison, earn this. I mean, this could be... when you think about this is wide receiver what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The problem here is that in a non-best ball where people are shoveling wide receiver content down your throat wherever you look, you got to go wide receiver in best ball mania and underdog. And then people just do it. They regurgitate it. And then it kind of makes it partly true because then you miss out on wide receivers. Like, you get to pick Harrison's 13, Barkley's 14, London's 15, and all of a sudden you're at wide receiver 10? You're at wide receiver 10 at 15, 16 overall? So you are put in a bind in a way by not going wide receiver with one of your first 2 picks. Hence why I say going running back, wide receiver, or wide receiver, running back, if best player available strategy allows it, gives you the best chance of winning. This wide receiver nonsense, it can work if it's best player available. It'll work. If you're forcing it and drafting a position and not a player, it's nonsense to me. Everything's nonsense outside of best player available, because when you think about the meat and potatoes, the nut and bolts of that strategy, you are taking the player that has the most value to you, the most bang for the buck, the highest floor, the highest floor and the highest ceiling, the best risk to reward ratio, and you're taking the best player every time. That doesn't mean you take back-to-back positions when you don't need them. Best ball, sometimes that's fun to do the bully system, but London is unfortunately propped up here in wide receiver 10 in a regular non-best ball setting. Might have him around 15, 16, 17, meaning that on ESPN leagues, wide receiver 10 is not going to be ranking at 14, 15 overall. It will be more like 17, maybe even 18, but at least 16 and 17 in that territory. So just know that Drake London at wide receiver 10 is not bad value on the surface level. It just, because the wide receivers are being pulled up by all these gotta go wide receiver worried Williams, it makes it really hard. It makes it really tough to draft London there and feel like you're getting the most bang for your buck. But he could earn it. This is your second drafted player. 10 or 11 or 12 touchdowns, 13, 1,200, 1,300 yards. 80 to 90, maybe 90, 95 receptions. It seems like a floor to him if he stays healthy. So this is one of those picks where, like, I think he earns it. He's just got to stay healthy. And he's got two amazing quarterbacks. We talked about it earlier. People are off their rocker that don't love the Kirk Cousins and Penix Jr. pairing from a fantasy football perspective. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day when you're watching a channel like this, right? Jonathan Taylor, I don't hate the value. I don't love Jonathan Taylor like everybody else. I think Gibbs, Barkley, these are all guys I want more anyway. So it's not like, I think to be a value, you have to say, man, I would have taken him ahead of, I wouldn't. I'd take Barkley ahead of him. I'd take Gibbs ahead of him. I'd take Breece Hall ahead of him. So JT's kind of like near where he should be. But when you look the two running backs below him, Kyren and Devon Achane, I want these guys over Taylor. I just do personally. And the fact that Achane's falling, and I don't think this is the furthest we'll see him fall. I think the dust is currently still settling on the draft values in the Blake Corum edition in LA. I think this is just initial, like, slowly moving it down, right? Because they initially jumped into the first 1,000 drafts with the old ADP data driving people, and so you're having to rely on people not using that data to get the players bumped down, and so it's a slow progression downward. So Kyren going at Harrison was 13, Barkley 14, Drake London 15, 16, so 17 overall for Kyren, which is unbelievably great. That's 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. Kyren is 2.5 overall. That's win a league material. Kyren, to me, could still lead the league in rushing yards. Kyren Williams could still lead the league in rushing touchdowns. I think Bijan's probably the league leader, he probably is the league leader in total touchdowns, in my opinion. I think he could be the total yard league leader in yards. I think he could be the number one overall running back. I think Gibbs could certainly have a cup of coffee with those numbers as well. But Kyren feels to me like the likeliest running back who is on pace for 21 touchdowns if you extrapolate his 12 games across 17. He would have had 16, 20, 21 touchdowns, 357 points, and running back 2 numbers, only behind Christian McCaffrey and barely behind Christian McCaffrey. They were the top 2 running backs by far, head and shoulders above everybody if you extrapolate the data. And if you don't extrapolate the data, if you don't playing the extrapolated data game, then you can just merely look at his 12 games and 12 rushing touchdowns. A touchdown on the ground every single game is what he'll give you. He scored 15 total touchdowns in 12 games. This is the league-leading rushing touchdown getter. And I don't care about Blake Corum like everybody else. I think he's a great cuff. I like the fact that he's there. I don't want him getting 100% of the workload. Out of all the running backs in the National Football League, this is the one guy that feels like he is the most likely to get 100% of his workload. I feel like everybody else has somebody that's going to spell him, and that's good. It keeps you healthy. Everyone wants to know why he keeps getting hurt. Well, maybe he does need somebody. Maybe he does need somebody to take 20%. I think that's fine. It's not going to hurt him at all. Make him more efficient. He might score the exact same number of points getting 80% of the work versus, slowing down and getting 20. So this is an absolute smash at 17 overall. Probably my favorite value at this point in the draft. I still love Gibbs, I think, maybe the most because he's falling to that 12-13 turn. It's not like Gibbs is like 7 or 8, and now we're comparing Kyren at 17, 15, whatever. We're not talking about Gibbs at almost the turn, the 12-13 turn. That makes Gibbs the best pick in fantasy football. Kyren and Mahomes are now also in that bucket, but you remember how I put up the best pick in fantasy football for graphics last year. We're going to put that up again this year, and tomorrow I'm going to do a video on probably Gibbs being the best pick in fantasy football. So Mahomes, Kyren, Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 best picks in fantasy football, and I usually pick 4 guys. So those are my 3 so far. You'll see a video tomorrow. Devon Achane is up there too. This guy's not seeing any threat just because Jalen Wright lands on roster. I don't understand the panic. I don't understand the panic. I think it was Yahoo that talked about Breece Hall going down in value because of Braylon Allen. It's like Braylon Allen and Jalen Wright. Like Blake Corum at least was drafted a little higher, and he's thought to be liked a lot by McVay. Sure, but doesn't scare me away from Kyren. He's not taking a job from Kyren Williams. You out of your mind? Like this is not Kyren Williams. Blake Corum is good. He's a good running back. Kyren is elite. He's elite on every level. And if you don't believe that, go back and watch all of his games and then come back and tell me that. Because you're talking like a casual if you say Kyren Williams is not an elite player in the National Football League. And I don't want to hear about prospect value. How'd he look coming out? First of all, I loved him coming out of college. So he had a lot of ability and upside. So Kyren Williams is a phenomenal pick. I think Gibbs tops him, but Kyren's probably second best at this point through the ADP data. Devon Achane is next. Devon Achane, we know how good he can be. This guy ripped off some of the most insane stats we've ever seen for an RB getting like such little work. He's the best running back in the National Football League and league history, in the history of the NFL in yards per carry, given the amount of volume he's had. And I think the more carries he gets, he'll still rank amongst everybody once he gets into bigger qualifying carry totals to get into the bigger boy rankings for those. And he'll arguably be the best running back in the National Football League in the history of the National Football League in yards per carry. Right now he's at 7.8, which is the league leading number. He doesn't qualify for as many carries when you filter down, qualifying carry totals to go into like somebody that's played like 5 years or something, So 11 touchdowns, very little work. Running back 24, very little work all year. Was leaned on heavily, got hurt twice. The injuries did not concern me whatsoever. Really got hurt once, and then somebody just landed on his knee, and he could have went back in, but Miami Coach Mike McDaniel said, I don't want to risk it, sat him another game. So he really sat out a lot of time, and it wasn't necessarily because he's too small or anything like that. And then he comes in ripped and shredded, and looks like he gained at least 15 pounds of muscle. And to me, that's amazing because he's still a young guy. He can learn to run with that weight. But Kyren Williams, Devon Achane, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson, I believe at this point, right? Achane is one of the best values in fantasy football, period, right now. Kyren's even better. Jahmyr Gibbs even better. And Bijan maybe right below Gibbs and maybe tied with Kyren just because he's got so much ability to be number one. But as you go up and creep up, the bang for the buck gets a little bit more cloudy. So that's so far, and I'll just quickly go through and say Olave, not excited. I like him, but not excited. Debo, you almost have to take him here if you don't see running backs left and you need a wide receiver and he becomes the best player available by default that way. I don't mind him here if you have to go that route, but he's not he's just kind of an injury risk, but I love him. I love Debo. He's so good. Nico, I don't love this value. DJ Moore, not a fan of this value with the crowded wide receiver room. Diggs, no thank you. Malik Neighbors, not a great pick anymore at that territory in redraft. Evans, when will he fall off? That's the question, right? So I can't put him as one of the best value picks just because of that. And then Jalen Waddle, same thing, always injured. I don't know what's going on there. That's it. It's Achane. It's Kyren. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. I still love Marvin. I'm just going to put that out there. And then it's Bijan. And I'm sorry, Breece Hall. Jeez. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Breece Hall. I forgot Breece Hall. So let me re-rank him. Number one value on the board, period. Jahmyr Gibbs at the 12-13 turn. The second best value honestly, it's probably Kyren and Hall tied. Because Hall's still a value in the 7-8 range. Kyren at 18 is unbelievable. And then Devon Achane and Bijan, they're kind of far apart, but they have similar upside given the cost of entry, given the risk, all that. Just nice players. Those are the best values in all of the top 25. You just heard it from me first. Probably one of the most important videos I think you can watch at this point in the season, because this is a very important, you got to land these rounds. These rounds may not win it, but they set you up beautifully to then later on in the later rounds win your draft. So the foundation is important. Don't put your faith in riskier guys. And then JJ, I forgot about JJ. We gotta throw him back in. Definitely in there with the Bijan value territory. So those are the best picks in fantasy football 2024 inside the top 25 using Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Smitty ADP data. Link is again being dropped right now in the live chat. Click that link. Underdog using code Smitty or that link, the link in the description as well if you're watching the replay of this video, will get you into our drafts when we draft. And you can do a draft right now while you're on the phone with me. Code Smitty, get it done, Underdog Fantasy. Travis, you are on the line, young man. What do you say? What do you hear? How do you like the top 25 debate here, and anybody else that you like that has similar value to you?
So, I'm going to say something about Gibbs in a second, but just on Waddle, I've been very much like a doubter of him. Not his talent, but just, like you said, he seems always to be kind of banged up. He doesn't miss many games, but then he's behind Hill and all that. But, like, if he was, say, 10 or 15 picks later, I'd like him a lot better. And I do have to say, if he goes for 1,000 yards and, 5 to 8 touchdowns again, I think we have to start giving him a little bit more credit, just because he's, even with the doubt, he started his career 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. But at that 28 spot, still too high. That's my biggest hang-up with him.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with, like, even DJ Moore or Nico or Chris Olave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not saying they're great value, people think I don't like them. It's not that. It's just DJ Moore and Waddle have the same feel. Like, they have immense talent, but there's certain limitations to their value. And Waddle's is injury and Tyreek Hill and Tua and the offense, and you just don't know what's what yet. But there's tons of upside. And then DJ Moore, it's crowded room, new rookie quarterback. Chicago is the one grooming him. So, not horrible values, but are they second round players? Not good bets for it.
And for the people who think you hate him, you took him in the margins man league last year just because he fell so far.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't even like doing that. Yeah, I took him, but because I didn't. Yeah, because everybody had Waddle at like 13, 14, 15 last year, if people remember that. And I was just like, I was irate about it, and I always got reamed. I got reamed to shreds over it. People were like, "Why you hate Waddle? He's so good." And I stand by this. I can never take a team's number 2 wide receiver in the top 2 or 3 rounds. I just can't do it. I'm never taking Higgins in round 3.
Nico's too high.
Yeah,
Nico, because he could be the one, but I think they're going to spread it around, and you can't tell me he's definitely the one.
Even Tank Dell, someone I love, he's better in round 4. He's better in round 4, top of round 4, mid round 4, than he is in round 3. In rounds 1, 2, and 3, I will never, almost never, take a team's number 2 wide receiver in the top 3 rounds. I just won't do it. Staying away from it. There might be a rare situation, like you could say Devontae Smith at the end of round 3. Well, he could be the one. I like Devontae Smith's odds of, he was wide receiver, I think 8 or 9 2 years ago. So that's a little different in my mind, because I don't view Devontae Smith the same as everybody else. I see him and A.J. Brown potentially going like this at some point, whether it's this year or next year. So I don't feel that way. And some might say Waddle and Hill's the same way, but I think until Hill gets hurt or something, you can't say that.
Right. And to kind of go away from that, back to the ADP stuff you were talking about. When you said someone call in and argue that Gibbs isn't number 1 running back, like, are you looking for someone who believes that he can't be the number 1? Because I'll tell you why I don't. I'll tell you why I don't think he is the number 1.
I mean, you could tell me why, but I guess I'm trying to find somebody that's got a true, genuine, like, Monty's gonna take his work. Like, why you like get? Yeah, it was. I mean, because look, Breece Hall, Bijan, CMC, like easily, like, you don't know. It's a dice roll in a way. But looking at the data, I mean, this guy was barely used, and when he was, one game he didn't explode Jahmyr Gibbs. Every other game was a top 3 running back performance. It's ludicrous, Hold on 1 second. Let me just read this real quick before I forget. Coble with the $10 holler. $10 hollers get moonshots. Coble, thank you for the super chat. Coble says, in a pickle, Smitty, I want Bowers at 1.6 bad. My buddy is picking before me and is going Bowers or Worthy. Thinking of trading spots with him, but BT Jr. is gone too, but I know you like Benson. I would draft Benson over Bowers, but that's me. And you know what, bro? I'll be honest with you. The average person out there, especially somebody that coins himself an expert, is going to have Benson probably 10, 11, 12. I'm the only one that has him 4. And he's 4. He's 4 or 5. 4 or 5 for me. I don't care. I don't apologize. I don't care. I just think he's going to thrive in that Arizona Cardinal offense. It's bold. It's crazy. But it's not like I'm drafting him there. I'm not an idiot. I'm not taking Benson at 4 when his ADP is 10, 11, 12, or whatever the hell it is right now. I'm merely giving you my ranking. I'm merely telling you, screaming from the rooftops, take him at 7, 8 to be safe, 7, 8, 9 to be safe, and have quite arguably my 4th or at least 5th overall ranked rookie from this 2024 NFL draft class. That's what my rankings suggest to you. It's not about you take my rankings and you draft off them. You use, as the show pointed out at the beginning, ADP to your advantage. You do not draft on ADP. You do not draft on rankings. You draft around ADP using rankings and thinking to manipulate the ADP data, to get Gibbs as late as you can, to trade down in a redraft league that allows trades to get Gibbs at 7, 8, 9 instead of having to take him at 1, 2, or 3 and then gain value somewhere else. That is how you dominate fantasy football. So I like Bowers a lot, bro, but Benson I'm taking over him unless it's like you're in dire straits at tight end and you're not at running back and it's like premium or something like that. Go ahead, Travis.
So like, I'm genuinely curious what you think. How many less touches do you think Montgomery gets? He got 216 carries last year. Do you think he stays around that, or do you think Jahmyr Gibbs starts to eat into that a bit? Like, Gibbs had 182, so you think like maybe they end up with close to even?
So to me, this is easy.
Well, that's rushes, not catching passes.
To me, this is easy. To me, this is very, very simple because people will say that this is the one argument. I was hoping somebody would call in and have the balls to like say that Monty was gonna, feast his way into a Jahmyr Gibbs, decline. But like, here's the truth. Here's the meat and potatoes of it. Gibbs wasn't used in weeks 1 through 6. And so you can't even like look at Monty's sum total carries and say, oh, he's going to get that amount of carries. What you got to look at is when they played together and when Gibbs was getting fed, when he was eating, how was Gibbs producing? What was he getting carry-wise? So from week 7 on, you just take that data, probably divide it by the number of games played and multiply it by 17. Probably the best guess you could make as to what the workload divide's going to be. And it's going to be something that we already have proven consistent data that suggests that that's what we want. We got right here. We want whatever this is from week 7 through 16. We want it repeated. Rinse and repeat that shit. There's no wanting it differently from what was happening from week. Even if you look at week 10 on, really, because of the bye week and Monty being out. Week 10 on, let's rinse and repeat this. Monty running back 12, 13, 15, 17, 26, 23, 15, 22, 28. Who's concerned about the Monty workload digging into this man's work? This is when they both played together and both played elite, supposedly. I'm not worried about Monty at all. I want Monty there. Monty is the Corum, the Blake Corum to Kyron Williams. This is necessary. And it keeps him hitting higher yard per carry numbers if he's not getting all 8 of the gut, between the tackle, horrible calls that you're getting 2 or 3 yards on, but you got to keep the defense honest and understanding that you will run the ball. Hey, Monty, this is a bad call here. This is going to be a 2-yard gain. Okay, stack box, but we need to make sure we show balance here. Take the carry. Okay, right into the freaking, back of some 300-pound lineman and get smashed to pieces. We want Monty to take every single one of those between the gut carries. We want Gibbs popping it out to the outside, knifing through one cut and go. Gibbs ripping off with his acceleration, amazing 7, 8, 9 yard per type of rushes. 12 to 15 carries. That's what we want. It's a morphed running back. It's a hybrid running back nowadays. And this is why Devon Achane can survive if he continues to be used like a hybrid properly. And Tony Pollard kind of was a little version of that, and we all wanted Pollard to get this between the tackle work. And I'm not saying you can't attribute that to his injury and then other things, but sometimes you wish for something to change when you really shouldn't be wishing for it to change. And you also, shouldn't assume that because it feels like a committee on some level that it can't sustain. Austin Eckler really proved that in the beginning of his career. The first handful of years, him and Melvin Gordon were a 1-2 punch, and Gordon was the 1, and Eckler was still a top 5 fantasy football running back as the 2, because he was the first really reverse of Deebo Samuel. Early kind of was the first. I say the first because he was like not the starter, and he was a top 5 running back. So Achane, Gibbs, I think we have a natural instinct to think that bust awaits, and that you don't like the idea that he's not the starter or he's sharing the role, but that doesn't matter. This is a weapon, Achane's a weapon, Gibbs is a weapon. These guys aren't Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson is the workhorse, 85% of the carries, everything. Gibbs is a weapon.
Well,
Achane's a weapon, but they can score top 5, top 6 running back numbers as a weapon.
and so I guess that's like the reason I would have a Breece Hall and a Bijan above Gibbs. And again, we're splitting hairs, but it's because I still consider Monty more of that offense than the backup running backs on the Jets and the Falcons are. And I understand what you just said. They're not going to take away touches, but Monty's going to take a couple of touchdowns away here or there. He's going to be, again, splitting hairs.
But if you remember, though, at the end of the year, it wasn't Monty was the goal line guy. It was whoever was in the game at that moment.
That's true.
Remained the goal line guy.
I just looked at it. From I think it was from week 10 to week 18, Monty only had 5 total touches more than Gibbs anyways.
Yeah, but at the end of the year, Gibbs had surpassed him as the goal line guy when he was in the game. Like, they didn't say take him out and put our specialist in. They're like,
no,
let's keep. But if Monty was in on that series, they could keep him in and he'd be the goal line guy. But for people to think he's the goal line guy, like, what world do you live in? Look at this. Running back 17, 26, 23, 15, 22, 28. There's a strong chance that he's dropped off. This might be Zeke Elliott. Like, people are crazy with this thing. There's nothing here in this data to suggest. I'm not saying he can't, do a little bit of what he did at the beginning of the year, and there's only 2 games in the 2024 season. But there is zero evidence from week 10 when he came back through the entirety of the season to suggest that Monty, took over the work. And
if you look, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you look at just the stats as a whole, Gibbs almost caught him in rushing yards alone. If you take away the receiving, almost caught him in rushing yards alone by the end of the year. I think he was getting pretty close anyway. What did he end up with? 9? It was 9 something, was it?
Yeah. And then also, you look at in the playoffs, for example, Gibbs had. What's crazy is all this data that I'm throwing on the screen. I'm not even putting the playoffs up there. And the playoffs are almost more important.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why I'm not including that, but he had a touchdown in every single game. He had a touchdown in the wild card game, the division round, and the conference championship against the 49ers. He had a touchdown in every single game. That just makes it even more impressive, to be honest with you. It's just like, it's unreal when you look at it. And to be fair, Monty did have 2 touchdowns in those 3 games. He had a touchdown in the wild card game, and he had a touchdown in the conference championship. So Monty did get 2 scores. But I think the point of it is, you also look at like the carries, and it's 14, 10, 15, and then you look at Gibbs's carries, and he's at least right there with him. There's really no time where Gibbs is going to get like a bunch of single-digit carry games. It's just not going to happen. Not to mention targets. Monty had, and we'll use the playoffs as a good example too, because those are the last 3 games they played. 1 target, 4 target, 2 targets was Monty. So it's not like he's dominating the targets as well, and that's an important stat too. So it's not like he's a guy they turn to be their reception monster. And when you look at Gibbs's targets, he had 4, 4, and 6. Like, what's more important, a carry or a target? Target's way more valuable when you're getting targets. You're getting way more opportunities. Carries could be 2 or 3 yard runs. So for Gibbs to have 4, 4, and 6 target wise in the 3 playoff games, and then 3 straight touchdowns a touchdown in each one of those games, Gibbs has completely annihilated the idea. Absolutely lambasted. He's crapped all over anyone's Monty argument. And nobody can call into this show and convince me, or I think anybody after I get through with the argument, tearing it down, that Monty is a threat to Jahmyr Gibbs.
No, he's not. And I don't get the people. There's still people out there who actually like prefer Monty to a point, or say like, "Oh, Monty's still the number one."
You know who
Gibbs ended up with more yards than him last year.
You know who prefers Monty over Gibbs? Kyron doubters. You know who prefers Monty over Gibbs? HN doubters.
HN doubters.
It's a type.
All in the same boat.
It's a type.
Oh, and like you've talked about, the NFL is like really like going away from that quote unquote bell cow, where like every team, at least good ones, they're going to have 2 backs that get a good amount of work each. But in cases like this, when you have that elite guy, he's always going to come out on top. So you don't. In other words, don't be afraid to draft them at their ADP when they're that.
Yeah, and don't worry, guys. I'm going to amend this graphic here and this data on screen. We have to talk about the playoff numbers too, because like that's like a huge part of my argument. I'm leaving out, especially the targets. I mean, when you look at the targets are unreal. But what's
who the team trusts?
Yeah, and they're all great matchups too. I mean, scores touchdown in every single game. The one crazy stat to me is that like this second stat is useless. He's second in top 5 running back finishes. Every single one of his top 5 running back finishes were top 3 finishes. So he had 6 of them. Right. He had 6 top 3 running back finishes. That is ungodly.
Well, that shows a ceiling. When he pops, he really pops. When he hits his ceiling.
Hey, Monty, go get Gibbs a coffee. Go get him a coffee, pal. But I like the ADP show. I think we make this a regular series weekly, and just kind of change it up. Like maybe next week will be, who are the voids at cost of entry.
Yeah, and you can talk about how the ADP's changed, if it has, and stuff like that.
Quarterback ADP, do a tight end ADP show, do a bust ADP show, do a deep sleeper ADP show. Just kind of keep rotating through the topics that seem most relevant with the news going on too. I think ADP data topics could be driven by the news, kind of like the Kyron and Gibbs, the draft and the backup handcuffs, affecting their value. Like Benson's going to be one of the biggest ADP steals for me. I don't even care if he climbs into round like 7 or 8. Still love it.
The thing is, I could be wrong. I don't think he climbs a ton until like preseason, when how guys will go out and have a great game in preseason. Well, actually, it happened with Tank Dell last year. That no one was talking about Dell at all until that preseason game against the Patriots, where he popped off. And then all of a sudden, like he jumped like 10 or 15 ADP spots in a week, and everyone's talking about him now. So I especially because all you consistently hear is, this rookie running back class isn't very good, which, it's not as talented as other classes. But like we've covered in, several shows since the draft, there's value to be had if you know what you're doing, you know where you're drafting.
Yeah. Do you know how many receiving yards Gibbs had in the playoffs, bro? He had He had 43.
I was going to say 4 something.
He had 43 in the wild card game. He had 40 receiving yards in the divisional game, 4 receptions in both those games, and he didn't have good reception numbers in the third game against San Francisco, but he did have the touchdown and 45 yards.
I would have thought he'd have even more. But
yeah, it was.
But still,
they probably lost
40 yards a game out of a running back is
they probably lost the game because they didn't use him enough.
If you could say all your running backs get 40 yards receiving a game on average, like that, you're going to have a top 10 draft easy.
It's unbelievable.
How many guys can do that?
Freaking I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I literally, like, on the show, I'm talking myself into him just being, running back one potentially. I mean, the numbers are just staggering. They're crazy. They're so unbelievable when you just. I mean, I think I still have Bijan probably being the one, but it's just every time I do and I have to do another. I don't want to beat a dead horse on this topic tomorrow, but I have to do a best draft selection in fantasy football 2024 video on him because I feel like he's getting slept on. So I will be doing a video tomorrow on this topic kind of, but we'll hit different, angles. So it's not going to be like boring or anything, but phone lines are open, guys, if you want to dial in. What were you saying, Travis?
I forget now. Someone in the chat in the very beginning, I know we've covered it, but I thought it was good to just bring it up again since we're talking to you. Was asking, is CeeDee Lamb worth a first-round pick? Which I said he's worth a first-round pick.
Of course.
But, he's going number 1. Like, he just went number 1 in the draft again.
I think what he means is he means he worth his first round ADP, and that's a different question.
Maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah, I think that's what he means, and that's a different question.
There's serious risk there. I mean, with what the Cowboys are doing and Dak not signed long term. So I just thought it would be touch on it quick just for.
Yeah, I would say I'm drafting Lamb around where JJ is, and that's, not like doubting him or hating on Lamb. I mean, that's still top 6, 7, but I mean, I do feel like he's getting overdrafted. Yeah. I love him, but there's no running game. I don't believe in Zeke. He looks kind of quick, to be honest with you, but like everyone looks quick in drills. And plus, looking quick in drills at his age, though, and he's actually, he's only he's 29. I mean, 28 is the drop-off year, and he already dropped off physically. You could see it. But, I mean, there's a shot he puts together like a good month or a month and a half, but there's no way he puts it together all year in my mind. And so this is a pretty tough situation for them to not have a running back and then to ask, Dak to put his back against the wall here, not let the contract situation bother him, McCarthy not let the contract situation bother him, for them to be nervous and playing for their jobs. And some people play well under that pressure, but like both of them at the same time just scares the hell out of me. Our only hope is that Jerry Jones sees the light, shows he's a liar, and extends Dak in the next couple weeks, and we're like, okay, that makes sense then. Now, then they're going to give Lamb his extension, because they can't give Lamb his extension until they free up money by redoing Dak's contract or by extending him.
And he probably won't sign it either. He might not sign it, not knowing what quarterback's going to be there. It's hard to say.
Yeah. So let me put this card.
Golf at the super chat.
Golf dropping when Josh Jacobs, is he in the conversation for top 3? Top 3, I mean, is it possible? Sure, but I think more so like Jacobs has a value of, where's Jacobs?
He's like in ADP wise, you mean? Or?
Yeah, why is he he on this? Why is he not on this list? Is he right below?
He's going 29.9
okay.
on underdog.
Yeah, that's great value.
Which
like
is awesome.
I'm like shocked that I don't see him in the top 28. Like, but is he top 3? Top 3 is that's a tall order, my guy. I mean, he wasn't exactly.
That's like a seat.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like, you close your eyes, you take a. This is like that meme of that guy that looks shocked and everyone's clapping for him and he didn't mean to do it. Like you take him and you get top 3 value. You're as shocked as can be. I think he's got the ability to be like 5 to 8, and that's fantastic, especially given where he's going. Like we don't even see Jacobs on the screen, but top 3. I'm not expecting that at all. Possible, but like very, very hard to imagine him knocking off every single one of these running backs all the way up to the 3rd. So I'm going to say negative Ghost Rider on that, but I love him this year. He's a steal of a running back 1 if you go wide receiver, and he is an absolute monster steal as a running back 2 if you go like running back, wide receiver, running back, or so running back, wide receiver Jacobs in the 3rd round, or wide receiver, running back Jacobs in the 3rd round as your 2nd running back. It's a great question, Golf. He's a great player, and I love his landing spot.
I'd argue that I would want Jacobs over all of the wide receivers that are between him and Achane. From Achane at 20.8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 receivers in between them until you get to Jacobs.
Yeah,
I would argue I'd take him. I'd want him over all those guys.
Look at this. Yeah, I can see that. Look at this. These stats, these playoff stats for Gibbs. I finally got him on my screen here. So rushing touchdown, 25 yards, 74 yards, 45 yards. Running back 4, running back 2, running back 4. I mean, granted, we're down to a very small number of teams in the playoffs, but I mean, he just everywhere he turns, he's a top 5 running back. Like running back 4, running back 2, running back 4, and then when he got going, running back 3, running back 1, running back 2, running back 3, and then he had these 3 games right here. I'm not even really counting 17 and 18 because of the usage that week, but then running back 3, running back 3. He essentially 3 weeks he was not a top 5 running back when he was used, and then we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 qualifying games. He was not a top 5, not top 4 running back. In 12 qualifying games, essentially all in a row, minus these week 17, week 18 games, all in a row, he was a top 4 running back, except for in 3 of those 12 games. Those are unreal numbers. And
he only had one receiving touchdown all year. That's going to change.
Yeah, that's going to change. And the targets, again, 4, 4, and 6 are unreal. Love this guy. And then we got Jack of all trades dropping a $20 wad.
Alert. Super chat alert.
$20 super chat. $20 super chat.
Jack of all trades coming in strong tonight. Like the man he is. He says if Detroit wouldn't have stopped running the ball in the championship game, this is what we just said, they would be holding up the Super Bowl trophy right now, says Jack of all trades. I don't know about winning against the Chiefs. That I'll leave to the imagination of everybody, but they would have beat the Niners if they just run the damn ball through Gibbs.
Isn't that amazing how close they were?
Yeah, they were so close, and God, it's so sickening to me because, to be honest with you, and this is not Niner hate, this is just Detroit Lion, love. But it's sickening because the Lions didn't really I don't want to say deserved to be there. They were playing out of their minds, and they were playing like an adrenaline rush, like picking up a car when there's a child or somebody underneath it. You have adrenaline rush. You do something you shouldn't be doing, but you're magnificent that day. You're a monster. You pick up the vehicle, it's underneath, That's what the Lions did. They were playing out of their minds, and they deserved every bit of it. It's just to see them actually outplay any expectation, be better than they should have been, gotten to the point where they were beating the Niners into the ground, and they were going to go to the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden they lose it all. It was just sickening to see them get to that point and unravel. And it was one of those things where if you've ever placed a bet on something, even if it's with a buddy, and you just, even though you're up big and you should be winning this, you're going to lose. Like, you just know it. I was watching this game, and there's so many points that had to be scored, and I'm like, they're going to lose. You can tell that the Niners are going to win this game. From the moment that ball bounced off the defender and IU caught it, you just knew that it was destined. This game was destined to lose. And I blame the plumber. We had a plumber working on the kitchen sink when this happened. So I had to watch this game while a plumber was trying to unclog our sink in our kitchen. And I blame him because the moment he walked in, it started unraveling. And I was looking, I almost asked him to leave. It just started, and he'd say things like, "Oh no," and it would like bother me. I'm like, "Shut up!" Like every time he'd comment on it, and he'd like sit there and stop and watch the game. And I hope he's not watching because I think I told him about this. Damn it! I mean, he was the greatest plumber on earth. He was amazing.
Hourly rate just went up.
Yeah, there goes a thumb down. That's him. Hey, Bob. But yeah, that was so sickening. I was sick to my stomach. Just sick to my stomach. Thank you, Jack of all trades, for the $20 holler. You're the man.
Birds, he made a good point. Birds on Real said Dan Campbell's aggressive approach is a double-edged sword, which is true. I also think there's something to say about that, like you said, that, they weren't expected to be there. Not that they didn't quite, not to say they didn't deserve it because they played their way into it, but there's something to say about being there before.
Yeah,
I think next time around they learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, I guess I would say this. I'd say that for the people complaining about Campbell, they would not have got there without his bold approach. But I will say this, it's like you could speak about this both ways. If you were to, let's say he got ejected from the game for yelling at the ref or something, they would have won the game. You know what I mean? Like him staying in, unfortunately, if you could have just neutralized his decision making that game, just that specific game, you would have probably had them offsetting something, not allowing the Niners to make one play that changed everything, and then boom, he did cause that loss at the end of the day because he was making such crazy bold decisions. He was making them out of fear. He wasn't making them out of balls, like putting his balls on the table like he was all year long. He was making ballsy calls out of fear for the first time. So I do agree with people that say he lost the game, but you can't blame him because of that. I mean, he was doing the best he could. Plus, we were all nervous as hell. We're a bunch of Lions supporters, probably majority of us in here. We got some Niner people, obviously, but I think we all were so nervous about it unraveling. I don't know if any of us would have been making great decisions either under that pressure. The nerves of this thing snowballing out of control were just crazy. Especially because
and that's why go ahead.
No, that's right.
So.
Let's see here. Same old Lions died in 2021. Yeah, Lions are different now. Different team. I put $100 on the Lions to be in the Super Bowl at Hard Rock in Tampa. Nice. That sucks when that happens. If I had to pick a team to win the Super Bowl that shouldn't this year, let's see here.
That's a good one.
I mean, I'm gonna throw the Cardinals just in the ring. We're talking about teams that should not. The Rams, the Cardinals. I would say the Packers, even though the Packers, people are.
I was just gonna say Packers are sneaky.
Yeah, they're sneaky. Falcons are kind of sneaky. And Bills are expected to be contention. Jets are kind of expected to be in contention. I would say
I don't think the Colts can do it, but I could see the Colts going one of those runs, like Houston or even the Lions to a point last year.
I won't say Houston. I won't say Green Bay. I won't say Baltimore. I won't say Buffalo, because those are all expected contenders. But of the non-contenders, especially ones not on this list right here, I would probably say the most unlikely teams, and the Bills and the Bengals, we can't put the Bengals in there, and even the Steelers, they made the playoffs. I'm not going to put them on here. I'm going to say most likely unlikely teams. You can say the Rams, but I think I would say the Rams are still included because they're such a long shot. I'd say the Rams, Rams, Cardinals, Falcons, and Rams, Cardinals, Falcons, and I don't know. When I go to Vegas, I'll show you guys my tickets. I usually drop even if it's just $20 on a future, and I or like $100 or something on a and I usually pick about 3 or 4 of them, and I land them every 1 to 3 years. I land one. So they're because usually a team that, or even if you put a team that shows, it's been over the last 2 decades, it's been kind of wild. I put money, a decent amount of money on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl back with Trent Dilfer. That one landed. I put a significant amount of money on the Cardinals to win the Super Bowl the year they made it and played the Steelers and lost on that Santonio Holmes touchdown. And I didn't lay off on that. I was going to hedge it, and I didn't. I won a significant amount of money on the Cincinnati Bengals to advance as far. I didn't have them winning it, but I had them advancing.
People are kind of writing them off.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't have the hype around them.
But
I will say that I think that the pick they made for that lineman of Marius Mims could be really, really big for them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and say those are my early picks, and I'll have those. And again, I'm going to Vegas June 29. I'll create an image for it so I can punch a button and show you guys whenever we talk about it, because I'll be pumping it up. But the Scott Fishbowl live Vegas event, I live streamed it for Scott Fishbowl last year. Scott definitely wanted me to come back and do it again, so I'm doing the Scott Fishbowl live Vegas draft live stream again this year on my channel. And it was fun last year. Denny came and Veda came, and there's I feel so bad I'm forgetting the 2 other people that showed up off the top of my head. We had some people from IG. I think one was King Wasabi is his name. A couple other people, but we were half the size probably last year, and so to even get 8 to 10 people to travel to Vegas for this was pretty humbling. It was really cool. So this year, I think we already have, at least people have DM'd me that they're in. We already have about 12 people that are expected to go. I'm sure a third of them will drop out and have something come up, but Denny's probably going to be there, he says. Anybody else wants to meet up there? Reebok Joe, hopefully he'll make it. Chris from Vegas in the chat's going to swing by. Never met Chris from Vegas because Reebok Joe I met in Vegas, and he became a follower of the channel, subscriber to the channel, and he never knew who I was. So that was kind of cool that he we brought him over from the live event, and then he brought his buddy over, Chris from Vegas. So I've never met Chris from Vegas. He's gonna stop by. Hopefully he can drag Reebok Joe back out, and it'll be fun. I'll do my Friday. This is June 28 and June 29. So Friday, June 28, the draft is Saturday, June 29. But Friday, June 28, I will be doing my normal, regular scheduled 8 p.m. show. It's going to be 5 p.m. Vegas time. I'm doing that from the poolside cabana. They'll have a cabana for me. And they did this last year. They set me up in a cabana. And Stadium Swim's awesome. They have TVs everywhere. You know, it's almost like a drive-in movie theater with like 7 TVs like in the pool. It's insane. So I'll be doing the live stream, the normal show from there. I'll do the graveyard show. Probably just some cafe or something inside one of the inside the casino. And then that'll be the graveyard show. Or on my phone, just walking around outside. And then the live draft Saturday, June 29. I'll be streaming the entirety of the draft, or a big chunk of it. I'm drafting in it, so I'll be drafting in the Scott Fish Bowl. They always have weird scoring, so I'll let everybody know what that is. And then I'll be doing the graveyard stream from probably the poolside or something that night, Saturday. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to hang out. I'll be hanging with Miss Smitty. We're kind of making a little vacation out of it, so there will be times where I'm not hanging out, the whole time, but I'll make it a point to, like, after the live stream on Friday, hang out for a while. And then when Miss Smitty, goes to bed early, like a normal person, and I go doing the graveyard stream, I'll be back out hanging out. If anybody wants to come back down, or if they're staying, they can obviously come down. But it'll be fun. Oh God, we have Bob from Cali on the phone. Bob, how long you been there, bro? Sorry, bro.
Golf super chat. Another one.
Not too long. I just want to know, like, I know some of the guys in the later second round aren't really ideal, but I mean, if they land, they land. Are there any other people that would you rather have over them that are going in the third? Travis mentioned Jacobs. There's other people too. I'm sure.
Any guys? Any guys going in the third that I like more than some of these guys? Is that your question?
Correct. More than the last, like, half in the second round.
Okay, so I actually have
Nico.
Yeah, I actually have that 29 through 43 right here. So the question is, do I like anybody on this page here more than the top 28? I would say Jacobs is definitely like one of the top on the list. I would say Laporta, Henry, Josh Allen. I start really liking DK and Devontae Smith. I start really liking Cooper Kupp as the fourth guy. I like Hurts as a third rounder, honestly.
That whole row is nice.
Yeah, like the third.
It's solid there.
Dare I say I'm going to have a video on trading your first and second round pick into round 3. Trading your 5th and 6th and 7th rounders into round 3. And having 5 draft selections, maybe 6 inside round 3. Because look at what you could assemble with 6 draft picks in round 3. You could get Josh Allen, Laporta, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, DK Metcalf, Travis Etienne, Tank Dell. Like this might be the best round around.
Why are the guys in the back half of the second round, why are they ranked there? Like, I mean, most people who pay attention, they're probably not taking Nico Collins. Why are they ranked so high?
I mean, in best ball, they're going that high, bro. That's the whole point of ADP. It's not made up like it's data that is exactly what's happening. That's what ADP data means.
I think a lot of people live and die by the wide receiver strategy. Too.
Yeah.
So they get pushed way up the board.
You take this into an ESPN draft, you're going to see running backs disperse up into the second round and first round more. So then you see Nico fall. You see everybody fall a little bit. But here, it's so wide receiver heavy. Again, I as I said earlier, and Golf says, have you seen the new $3 draft league on Underdog? Not yet. Golf, thanks for telling me.
I just started one. Schnauzer.
Yeah, guys, while you're listening to this, it's fun to apply some of this while we're talking. There's the link I just dropped in the live chat, Underdog Fantasy. You can use code Smitty, download the app on Underdog through the App Store, and then it says, how did you hear about us? Put code Smitty. That helps the channel out. It also can double your deposit up to $100. So if you deposit 20, they'll give you 20. If you deposit 100, they can give you up to 100. and then draft while we're talking about this. But so yeah, you have a good point in question, Bob. In a regular non-best ball setting, you will not find all of these wide receivers that you see right in front of you going 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. That's an enormous amount of wide receivers. But in best ball, you will. So this is not made up. This is not a weird, fictitious, ranking. This is exactly how, on average, it's going on Underdog. So that's why, but again, I don't think you'll see Nico as high on ESPN.
Yeah, but there's no way that you're taking Nico Collins in the second round. Like, you take any other player.
Bob, he is getting taken because this data is telling you he's going at 23 overall on average in every single one of the thousands and thousands and thousands of drafts. You're trying to argue the data here. This data is coming from the ADP, the average draft position. It's
arguing best ball because, like you said, there's a difference.
There is a difference,
and that's where the difference shows up.
Like this is not my guesstimation or saying be careful, Nico's going to go around. This is what's happening. It's happening right now.
I just think there's some manipulation going on. There's not.
It's wide receiver.
A single person that would take Nico Collins.
It's wide receiver heavy on best ball, but he will go around 3, top around 3, mid round 3, probably on ESPN. Stephon Diggs will probably go mid round 3, top around 3 on ESPN. Whereas these guys are going a lot higher on best ball, but there's nothing to debate here. Well, this is where they're going. If you're doing a best ball draft right now, Nico's going at the 2-3 turn every single time.
You saw
test it out.
Time when you tried to do the Houston stack.
Yeah, test it out.
It was so hard to do because they just kept going in that spot.
Yeah, bro, I tried to on purpose just to do it. Like, I knew it was a stupid idea, but it was fun. I tried to draft Nico, Dell, Diggs, Stroud with my top 4 picks, and I twice, and I didn't get it. I mean, you could think it's dumb all you want, but it's what is happening. This is not.
I'm not saying it's dumb. I'm just like, when you're doing those things, you obviously have all the followers and whatnot, so that could possibly be hindering it. But it's like there's like 7 or 8 different guys I'd rather have before some of those people there. And I'm not saying that it's because I've done best ball drafts and whatnot. And I'm not saying that it's like everybody's drafting in there. I'm just saying that.
Well, Bob,
maybe
what do you think we're here for?
It's possible they're putting that out there to.
No, there's not. No, it's not. Your conspiracy theory is rejected. I Smitty disapprove it. It's.
You just.
The whole reason we're here is to identify that this is funny, it's amazing, and we're going to smash people to pieces because of this. Like, the fact that Nico's going, I mean, I just went over the ADP data, and I told you don't draft Nico, or I don't like Nico. I don't like even Olave, even though I love Olave. I don't like Olave there. I don't like DJ Moore there. I don't like Diggs there. I don't like Neighbors there. I don't like Evans there. I don't like Waddle there. This is the whole point of the ADP show, right? Is to tear down what is happening and prop up what I like that is maybe happening, maybe not happening enough, or maybe we see something that people don't see and we want to prop that up. But this is 100% what is going down. It's not a setup. It's not fictitious. This is what people think of Nico Collins, my guy, in best ball. This is real. Your conspiracy theory is not right. But you are correct. You and I
know if you take Collins in the second, you're going to go 0 for 100.
Okay, but you and I and everybody in here probably agrees. Because we see value in RBs, we see value differently than other people. This is why I'm doing this show, is to identify that Nico shouldn't be going there, but he is. Then it's good. Why you should be embracing it. You should be wanting this to be the truth. Why would you not? Why would you not want to go draft with a bunch of Rodgers right now on Underdog that are taking Nico in the second round? This is the best news you've heard all night. You're fighting it. Just lay back, let it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it lets you do those formats, like you were saying with Jacobs. Able to take them, as a really solid first or an amazing second running.
Yeah. Smitty, in underdog format, how many QBs should we be drafting? 3 to 4? Definitely 3. I've taken 4 before, but it depends if it's an 18-round draft or a 20. If it's 20, take 4. If it's and take 3 tight ends. If it's a 18, you got to be very smart about your 3 quarterbacks. You have to take. You can't take like Minshew and Fields as your QB 2 and 3 because you may not have a starter at some point when your quarterback 1 goes on a bye. You have to be very on top of things. Penix Jr. and Minshew won't work either because you don't know. You could take Cousins and Penix Jr. and then a third quarterback, and then you're damn covered. You know, that kind of thing is smart. Same thing with 3 tight ends. You want to do that because 2 tight ends isn't. You got to try and grab 3. But Kraft and Luke Musgrave as your 2 and 3, and then you draft a better number 1. That's a really good way to cover yourself as well. Thank you, Terry.
Super chat. That's crazy.
Thank you, Terry. I've done 3 drafts today, 17, 23, and 19 for Nico. Smitty is correct. There you go, my guy. 17 and 19, my man.
It's a Stroud effect. People are, rightfully excited about Stroud.
Thank you,
but
Fred.
There's like 3 camps almost of people where, a third of them think Nico's the one, a third of them think Dell's the one, a third of them think Diggs is the one.
Yeah,
so
Bob.
You get these camps of people.
Yeah, don't be a non-ADP box score Bobby, Bob. Just embrace it and take advantage of it. What's going on there? Somebody on a walkie-talkie or a fax machine? What is this? Rock out, you're live.
I heard that too.
Rock out, you're live.
What's up? You want to hear my terrible team?
Sure.
All right, QB, Burrow, Herbert, Geno, running back, Kyron Williams, Kamara, Najee Harris, Benson, Ray Davis, Herbert, wide receiver, JJ, DK, Dell,
Nice.
Jameson Williams,
Damn.
Dawson,
I like this team.
Polk, and then tight end, Brian Move, Ben Sinat, and Ertz.
Yeah. I like it. Good job, bro. Very nice team.
Yeah, I like that.
Nico just went number 24 in the draft I'm in right now, says Tebow time. There you go, Bob. Don't be a Bob.
I got Dell at 4.7.
That's great. Dell in the 4th round, and I'm sure Bob agrees with this because Bob, you're preaching to the choir tonight about all this. That's why I'm doing this show. To like be like, hey, sound the alarm. Look at these guys drafting these these players where they're drafting them. To get Nico in mid-round 4 and versus to get Dell in mid-round 4 versus Nico in round 2 is night and day.
Yep.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate you with the $2 hauler. Will stop and pick up D-Town also, says Jack of all trades. I don't know what we're talking about there. We talking about going to Vegas? I hope so. Hey, could everybody mute real quick if you're not talking? Somebody's got a squawk box, and it's just reverbing everything into the channel. So real quickly, let me go to Sebastian, who just called in. Sebastian, you're live, young man. Are you here to fight with me about Monty or ADP data, or are we friends?
I got a serious
tonight?
question for the high wide receivers.
Okay.
Achan, Jacobs, and maybe even Etienne are off the board in late round 2. Who are you taking?
Can you give me some examples? So ETN, Jacobs, and HN are gone. Who's left?
Pretty much only receivers.
Just give me the names, though. It's kind of hard to. Just give me like 4 guys.
Like the Adams.
Not a mind reader.
It would be the Adams to like Navy range.
Just give me 4 or 5. Think about it. Give me 4 or 5 guys, and let me just rank them for you. It's a lot easier exercise than, hey, put a blindfold. Olave, Debo. Okay, go.
Nico.
Okay.
Navy and Evans.
Debo. I don't love any one of those guys, but as you saw my breakdown of this range that we're talking about, Bob was talking about this Nico, DJ Moore, Neighbors, Mike Evans, Waddle, Nico, Olave, Devontae Adams. If it's Adams, I probably take Adams, I guess. If Adams is gone, then I take Debo. And the reason I take Adams or Debo is because those two guys, out of everybody else, in my opinion, have the ability at least to be like target hogs for their team. So Debo
Adams has been declining every year for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I get it. I could put Debo above him. Like the wind blows a certain way, so that's fine. If you're worried about Adams, take Debo. Debo's an injury-prone player, but he's so talented, man. He's the best yak yardage player in the National Football League. There's not even an argument there. And Ayuk is
go for the playoffs, huh?
Ayuk is primed for a struggle bus year if the Niners deploy the Debo Samuel holdout contract blueprint, and they are currently deploying that. If Ayuk holds out, he will struggle. It's like a near certainty. When you hold out, you have a struggle bus year. And Debo is, pretty upset right now. He's probably still kind of like small, like 5 to 8% chance could still get traded. There aren't a lot of landing spots anymore. And this is what I said before the draft began, that the requesting a trade for either one of them would be before the draft when these teams needed to fill wide receiver room seats, and now they've consumed rookies, and there's nobody really needing anybody. But the Steelers keep calling, apparently, or were just on a mission to go get DK Metcalf. That report came out that the Steelers were trying to get DK Metcalf during the draft, which was kind of crazy news. And then you just wonder if, like, is Roman Wilson satisfying and wetting their beak? Or are they wanting still a Debo, still wanting a JJ, still wanting a Higgins, still wanting something? They might be. Pittsburgh's going crazy. They're going all in. So, but I like Debo in San Francisco more than I do in Pittsburgh. Because the scheme is crazy good. The volume, we know what we're dealing with. The scheme's going to set him up perfectly. We don't know if he'll be used as a wide back. And that's kind of his bread and butter. I think you make him run only routes, and he's a different player. So I don't want Debo to really leave unless he goes to Buffalo. He goes to Buffalo, which I don't think he will at this point, given they brought in Coleman, who might be the third or second best, probably the second best redraft rookie wide receiver this year. Keon Coleman's climbing my board quick. And I make no bones about, or I'm not ashamed about changing my mind as we go too. And I'm just, the more I'm watching film on him, the more I'm accepting the things that concern me don't concern me as much in Buffalo, and the things I liked get amplified in Buffalo. And then the moment I heard that, and this could be partly fabricated or maybe stretched a little bit, but the moment I saw a report that Josh Allen sent him a text and said, "You're the one wide receiver I wanted. You're the wide receiver I wanted to play with most." Once I saw that text that Josh Allen sent Keon Coleman, I'm all in. I'm all in, and Keon Coleman's going to be the number 2 wide receiver, I believe, in redraft out of rookies. And he could arguably, I don't know which one, I'm not bold enough right now to say he's taking out Neighbors or Adunze long term, but it's not crazy to think he could take one of them out. I'm not saying which one, I'm just saying, if Keon Coleman was the 3rd best dynasty wide receiver instead of 4th, wouldn't shock me at all. This is a really, and he's such a fun guy to watch, like, get interviewed. He's a little weird.
Oh yeah.
He's a little weird, and I remember I told you all I wasn't sure how I was gonna take it though, because it was like he reminds me of Winston, and Jameson Winston's such an oddball that sometimes you just wonder if they're all there or they're distracted all the time. Like, is this guy in the field in the huddle, like, interrupting people and going, "You guys see my new coat I got earlier? The yellow coat. It's really good, isn't it?" Like, then it's just like, dude, this guy ain't focused. But you go back, watch this film. He's on a mission. He's dialed in. I don't think he brings that to the huddle. So I'm not really.
He's not a quarterback. He could get away with it.
Yeah, he's just a fun guy. You interview him off the field, he's a fun guy. T.O. was always, Chad Ochocinco was always very snappy off the field. He didn't necessarily get distracted, right? He was dialed in. He was hungry. He was a good trash talker. And, maybe Keon Coleman's going to be some sort of trash talking guy, like where he's just like, you're about to see me in the end zone in a minute. Are you going to take a photo with your mama? Like, who knows what he's going to say to defenders. But but anyway, back to the question at hand, which was Debo. I don't think Buffalo, such a long-winded answer. Buffalo is probably not going to go after him. So I don't want him to move. I don't think he'll move. The odds of him moving are really, really not likely, but he's not happy. Diana Rossini interviewed him on the phone, and he disputes how it went down. So it's he said versus she said. But Diana Rossini said that Debo said on a phone call after the draft that, kind of it is what it is, that he knows what's going on and he's chilling and he's fine with where he's at, staying in San Francisco, whatever. And that he understands that, she said, how do you feel about them drafting your replacement and the fact that they're trying to move you potentially? And he's like, I know it is what it is, or something to that degree. And it was a very, very like negatively taken situation that sounded like he was bummed out. So Diana Rossini reported it as such, and then Debo clapped back right away and said, man, you reporters, like almost like she's fabricating it or telling it a different way. But I truly believe, you can't be happy to see this team drafting a player at your position in round one. In round one. Yeah. And they're trying to move both of you, whoever they can move, walking into the draft. That's not a good feeling. And it certainly doesn't make you feel like a company man. You know what I'm saying? Like, would any one of you think about the jobs and places you've worked or work, if any of you work right now at your job, if you found out that your boss was trying to move you and they couldn't do it, and they've drafted your replacement, they've hired somebody that they're going to train that's going to eventually take your spot for sure. He's first. Ricky Pearsall, they drafted to take one of their spots, and you don't know which one, but they're doing it. Like, how motivated are you going to be? How excited are you about the season? How much are you distracted? So like those things worry me too, and I don't know. For that reason,
Would you? No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for that reason, you could argue that Debo's risky. But
I think they're all risky in that range.
Well, how about you go running back and then take DK the next round?
No, I said if the running backs are gone.
Okay.
Like all of them.
All of them are gone? Like Achane's gone, Jacobs is gone.
And Jacob.
Etienne's gone, Jacobs is gone. What about quarterback? Who's your first round pick?
Probably like a Bijan. Oh, wait, at the 1.1, it would be CMC or Jamar Chase.
1.1. You're not going to see at the 25 overall, bro. You're going to have options. You're going to have a Jacobs. I think you're going to have a Jacobs. You could even go Henry if you wanted to really get crazy with the 2-3 turn or whatever. But you're probably going to have Jacobs there. What do you mean?
I've had some drafts, man, where they're just not there.
You're expecting Etienne, Jacobs, and Achane to all be gone by pick 25, 24? You're
I've had like two of those drafts.
No,
already.
bro, you're a freak out Freddy right now. You're an over-analyzing Oscar right now. Sebastian, how many times do I got to yell at you, bro? What are you doing? What kind of ADP data are you working with? What are you talking about? Etienne's going around 4. Jacobs is going in mid-round 3. You're designing disaster scenarios that are never going to happen. You're going and getting jugs and jugs of water before any sort of catastrophes even in sight. What are we talking about here? I thought you were...
Actually, no, not Etienne. I've seen Jacobs off.
Even so, you're planning for Armageddon here at 24 and 25. What are you doing? You're going to be fine there. This is hilarious. Sebastian.
All right, and then one more real quick one.
Yeah, I love you, pal. I'm not mad at you, but sometimes I don't know where you're going.
No, I'm not mad at you either.
I don't know I don't know what in the hell you watch. I don't know if you're watching my channel all day long, but it doesn't sound like it. This guy.
All right.
Look, Jacobs is going to be there.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of drafts at the 1.2. Who are you choosing? Just with how many drafts you're doing? Like, are you splitting Chase, Hill, Lamb, or are you taking all like, what are you doing at 1.2?
Yeah, I'm doing a variant of everything. I'm taking Bijan. If like let's say I'll never have other drafts. Like this is the only way I can consume Bijan in this format or something. I'll take him in one of them. I don't even care. I'll take Breece Hall. I'll take Jamar Chase. I'll take Tyreek Hill. I probably don't take Lamb though. That's probably the one guy if I have to like knock someone out, it's because I worry about Dallas. I really do. So I would definitely grab, a combination of those guys. CMC if you get a chance in one of them just to have a share. And then, you're probably looking at the 24-25, you're probably looking at very, very likely. And is it what this is your buddy league, right? Your redraft buddy league?
No. This is Best Ball Mania mass entries, just the 1.2.
Okay. Well, as you can tell, Jacobs is available. He's not even going inside the top 29 overall. So you technically could take him early at 24-25 if you wanted. I really, really love Jalen Hurts. And like I've drafted teams where I've reached on both my 24 and 25 players because I like you, or I like Bob on the phone, do not love this string of players right here. And I think if you believe running backs are going to get consumed to the point where you don't want to mess with it, then go wide receiver here, and then you could literally go Jacobs early and Josh Allen, and then get back to DK Metcalf and guys like that. But Jacobs is a fantastic third drafted player. I don't care if it's the top of round 3. I'll do it, and I'll do it live.
I think he's better than JT, like 1 for 1. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Well, he'll be available for you, I'd say 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10. So you're freaking out over nothing.
Yeah.
Jacobs, I don't know. Has anybody on the phone lines? I mean, the ADP is telling us that what I'm saying is true. Has anybody on the phone line seen Jacobs go at 23 overall or higher? I haven't. Not unless I'm in the draft and I went nuts for whatever reason for a minute or two.
It's like a once in a blue moon. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. All right. Hey, let me go over to hang tight for me, Sebastian. Let me go over to Elvis from Oregon. Elvis, what's going on?
Hey, Smitty. What's your pulse on our aging superstars? So Keenan Allen, Eckler. I'd even throw Pollard into the mix. 27, like pretty old for running back who's moved. And then the last one is Swift. I don't know what he's going to do in Chicago with all the receivers, rookie quarterbacks. Because I don't know where to rank them in my head for this upcoming draft.
Yeah, I don't like any of them. I like Eckler kind of at cost because he could go like in the 90s or something. So like scoop him up. I've been doing that a lot. I don't love him, but I've been sitting here every time I'm on the clock in like the 90s or 100s and Eckler's there. I'm like, damn, why not? What if he does something for a month? That's all I'm expecting. I'm not expecting 17 games of great play, but like in best ball, give me a month of maybe some good games. Sure. Why not? Swift, I'm not going near Swift. Not at cost of entry. I think they broke him in Philly. They used him like a between-the-tackle running back. That was not his job description. And he was absolutely dreadful the last like 5, 6, 7 games. We put that data up on the screen like 3 nights in a row. I'm not going to pull it up again, but it's bad. He's like in the 20s and 30s and 40s like the entirety of the last like month and a half, 2 months of football. But he was great during the beginning of the year. And he certainly proved us right in terms of being a moon man, even though he tailed off quite a bit at the end. So they broke him down. I don't trust Chicago at all. I don't know how he's going to do. It's a crowded room anyway, so give me no shares of Swift. Eckler, again, I like him at cost. Who are the other ones you said? Pollard, stay away from him. I think Spears is the only guy to own, and he's free. And the presence of Pollard alone makes Spears a midseason monster, I think, and a Moon Man. Do we have him on the Moon Man list? I think we do. Let me see.
The Moon Man.
No, we don't. He's on the midseason monster list. Yeah, Spears at some point could absolutely pop off, and he's practically free. So I'm not going near Pollard. Who was the last one?
Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with Harbaugh at all getting rid of him for literally nothing, but I do believe he does drop off at some point. So if his ADP is, where is it at? It looks like it's going to be it's going to be like in the 30s. There's so many other players I'd rather draft in the 30s. Let me see if Keenan Allen's on this one right here. So Keenan Allen looks like he is going, would he be like what, around like 45?
I've been drafting him in the 60s and 50s.
Okay. I mean, it's not horrible, but I wouldn't do it. I think it's a crowded wide receiver room. Wide receivers changing teams is never a good idea. Give me Mahomes every single freaking time over Keenan Allen. Every time. I'll even venture to say this, bro. 100%. And I'm going to do a video on this. I got so many videos I got to do. I got to do the bully videos. I would go bully quarterback and draft, even if I already had Herbert or Hurts or Josh Allen, or I plan on drafting Burrow later at 7th round value or whatever. I would draft Mahomes every single time over Keenan Allen and go bully quarterback versus waste my pick on Keenan Allen.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because after
it's not tough for me.
You have it popped up. No, I'm saying after the top 20, the draft is like pretty dead in terms of, like raw receiver talent because of all the red flags everywhere until you get to like, the Dunze type and the Jordan Addisons and like
I love the guys like DK, Devontae Smith, Tank Dell, and Cooper Kupp in the 29 to 43 range. To be honest with you, I think those are really good values.
Yeah, it's tough because I feel like I'd rather just take a high-end receiver and then just stack on running backs and like I rather like get K9.
You rather put but don't nothing wrong with like leaning that way if it seems like that's where the draft's headed, but don't start putting a blindfold on and just drafting a position. And just saying I'll be fine. I'm gonna go wide receiver. I'm gonna never say I'm gonna go wide receiver ever again. Just draft the best player available, my guy. I'm telling you, there's no way to really fail on this, unless you screw it up drafting best player available and you abort it and you go a different direction. You could create a big void for yourself. Like the problem with best player available, when I used to do draft calls, I don't do them anymore because I'm too busy, and they were fun and everything, but I used to do draft calls, and I did a draft call with this guy. I think I've told this story before, and we went best player available, and I could tell he was a nervous Ned. I could, you know those people that are just really anxious, and you meet them for like 1 minute, and you know that this person is just freaking ADHD. Nothing wrong with that. I've got a little bit of that myself. I know that. They didn't diagnose it when I was younger. They just said get in the corner, and so that's so I understand it. But you could just tell he was a nervous Ned. He's just absolutely like anxious kind of guy. And I said to him, "Are you sure?" He goes, "We're doing whatever you say, Smitty." And I'm like, "I want you to draft it. It's your team. I want to help you, but it's your team." He's like, "No, whatever you say, whatever you say." He's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Okay, Ned, I think we should go best player available." And he's like, "Okay, we're going best player. We're doing it, Smitty. Smitty, we're taking it to the top. You and me, bro." And so we draft this magnificent team. It was unbelievable. But best player available led us down a road where we didn't have a very strong running back too. But we had a bunch of sleepers. We had a bunch of rookies. We had a bunch of guys we like, kind of like think Zamir White types this year. and a bunch of the rookies like Jonathan Brooks, Amir White, and like a combination of guys like
Trey
that.
Benson.
Yeah, Trey Benson, and so I'm like, don't worry, you're gonna get one out of this. The whole thing is you stacked everywhere, and your whole goal is focusing on this running back too, and you're consuming a bunch of these. You land Benson, and you have a team that people don't recognize, and they're like, how in the hell did you make a trade? How did you get this team? How do you have like what looks like an extra second round player on your team at the end of the year? This guy dismantled his entire team. He got so scared about his running back too. He traded his top first round receiver. He traded his second round pick. He called me back. He goes, Smitty, I screwed it up. He gave me his team. He was such a nervous Nelly. He destroyed it. He made so many other holes in his team that were imbalances to fill that running back 2 spot. He was ashamed of himself. I almost told him to retire from the whole thing. I was like, this might not be your thing, bro. He just freaking ruined the entire team. Just worried and focused on this. So my whole point in that story is that best player available can be scary to a very anxious person, because if you're drafting the best player available and you're going a little crazy light at wide receiver, it can feel kind of, rough. Or you hit this trend of like Bob said when he called in, and he can't believe Nico's going around too. You hit this string of wide receivers that we don't feel is worthy of this draft selection. And you go with Jalen Hurts, who's early quarterback. What a stupid move. Or Josh Allen. What a stupid move how deep the QB pool is. Well, guess what? If I'm taking the player Josh Allen, who could outscore everybody in fantasy football, everybody, and I'm taking him right here, and instead of getting one of these guys, I end up getting, let's just say, a combination of Keon Coleman and, let's say, Jaden Reed, or Keon Coleman and somebody else. Who's to say I'm not going to get near the same production that I'm getting out of any one of these guys? And if I'm smashing everyone to a million pieces at my QB spot, no matter how deep it is, I'm winning that draft. I'm winning that moment. So every time you're on the clock, who's the best player available? Who's the most bang for my buck? And that includes what you think, not what I think, whatever, what your rankings think, who you're trusting, what you think, what your team needs are, the likelihood of injury, all that stuff's factored in. You could get best player available wrong in terms of you evaluating it. That's the tweak and the way you've got to go in and tweak your own game, right? I can't help you with best player available. Only you're going to know who best player available is. But the problem is when you say I'm going to go wide receiver early and scoop up a bunch of running backs. That's like putting a blindfold on and going into a draft and saying, I'm going wide receiver. Let me hit the wide receiver button. Who'd I get? Oh, I got the highest ranked wide receiver. Who's left? Okay, I'm going to go running back. Boop, boop, boop. Who'd I get? Like, who wants to even play like that? Might as well play fantasy baseball.
No, you're right. I think where I get a little nervous is that I feel like the top end running backs, obviously, like Chubb got hurt badly, like the worst thing you can ever, imagine. But I feel like the top end running backs they last longer during the fantasy football season in terms of like having a really high floor. They might not have a high ceiling, like Josh Jacobs, he's going to get you 18 points per game. He might not get you CeeDee Lamb's 30, but he's going to get you 18 every day. And so, but the receivers in that middle pool, before Devontae Adams, before Cooper Kupp, before DK, that middle pool receiver group, it's just a whole bunch of red flags. It's like it's not like the Bijan situation with Arthur Smith, but the impact of them having them on your fantasy team is similar.
I'll just say this. And this balance is the best way. If you can get balance with best player available guiding you to that approach, then it's the best strategy. To go running back, wide receiver to start your draft off, or wide receiver, running back is the absolute best approach. And to be frank, if you can do that, sometimes best player available won't allow that. Let me show you a best ball team I have right here. I'll drag it on screen. Tell me that this balance doesn't make you feel like you could walk through a brick wall walking into round 5. Like, somebody tell me I'm wrong on this. This team is is what you'd say the definition of balance. This is Best Ball Mania. I got Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Sam Laporta.
I mean, what's there to complain about? I guess my only knock would be Laporta, because there's a lot of mouths to feed over there. But
you could insert Kelsey there if you like Kelsey, because they're going around the same territory.
1,000%.
You can, so like that team right there, this whole wide receiver nonsense that people are spewing that has to happen. You got to stack. And I am stacking here. I've got Laporta and Gibbs, but I'm stacking naturally. I'm not forcing it. But this whole complete nonsense of you take wide receivers. The stack, like, this team is gonna, I believe, if I stay healthy, annihilate these nonsensical draft strategies. I love this start. There's no way I'm taking any other start than this kind of start if it drops in my lap.
Is Marvin Harrison the first player to ever get drafted in the first round doing nothing in the pre-draft like you talked about the other night? No,
Najee went around 11, and he earned it. He was really good his rookie year. I know it doesn't feel like that when you remember back. I mean, running backs have gone this high. I'd say wide receivers, I don't think a wide receiver usually goes quite this high, because he's like pick 11 now. But I mean, this start right here, I took Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, or at pick 12, Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick 13. So that was my back-to-backs, and Jalen Hurts and Laporta back-to-back. I could have went Mahomes and Kelsey if I wanted to, and I've gotten that start as well. I have a team exactly like this. I have Mahomes, Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Kelsey. And I have Hurts, Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Laporta.
Oh, no, which is incredible, by the way. I meant in like real football, is Marvin Harrison the first player to go in the first round doing nothing in the offseason?
I don't recall.
I've never heard of this before.
I don't recall a skilled position player ever saying, "I'm just going to start preparing for the NFL. I'll see you guys later." But the cool part, really, I guess you could say the cool part, is that he's such a likable person that nobody took this the wrong way. Really, I mean, some people were disappointed. I know a lot of talking heads at first were like, "This guy's, it's kind of like, I don't like this. I don't like that he doesn't." And even I said that probably once or twice, where I was like, "Man." But I don't like it selfishly. I don't like it. I don't dislike it because I think he's a bad character guy for it or anything. I just meant, man, I wanted to see him work out. But the fact that, he did this and everyone's like, yes, sir. Okay. If anything, this makes him better. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds very biased because I'm so amped up about the Cardinals, and I'm very, you'll say things about Caleb, anything, and then now you'll everything Marvin does is amazing. Well, it kind of is. It kind of is. When you really think about it, the best example I can give is when you cut weight for a fight, when you cut weight for a boxing fight, are you at your best because of that, or you kind of make your body a little bit unhealthy and probably not fighting at 100%?
Oh yeah, the second part.
Yeah. So honestly, boxing, it's not good for these fighters to do that, and then they go out and then they're vulnerable and they could get injured, and they're trying to, they put on a bunch of weight real quick. I kind of feel like the combine in some ways is bad because a lot of these guys will gain weight so they can hit the bench. A lot of these guys will try and drop weight so they can hit the 40. And you have them in these awkward, LB positions where they're not at the weight that they normally want to be at because they're pressured to get these numbers. And Marvin Harrison Jr. said, F all that. I'm just going to go prepare to be a pro. And he started getting a jump on it while all these other people are playing games and jumping through hoops and putting their bodies in weird positions that never has been in so they could get these numbers, and that they won't ever retain that same exact weight. Like, if anything, Marvin Harrison Jr. may have just paved the way for the top guy at a position to say, I'm just going to go prepare to be a pro. And I think it's going to benefit Marvin. He's going to be light years ahead of everybody because he's been sitting there doing his normal stuff while these other guys were training for a game, like, jumping through hoops.
Yeah. No, he kind of gives off, they're different players, different body types, but he kind of gives off Calvin Johnson vibes, fantasy-wise.
Later, Jack of all trades. All right, guys, I'm going to, it's been late, 2-hour show. I'm going to jump everybody off the line. Elvis, appreciate you calling in, bro. Call in tomorrow.
Appreciate you.
All right, later.
Appreciate you.
Sebastian, final thoughts.
Justin Fields is a perfect bowling QB if you got Mahomes.
You got to get somebody else with him, but yeah.
85.
I love Fields, but it's tricky because then you can't go after Penix as your third quarterback because you could have no backup, So you have to really get somebody strategic. But I love Fields as my third quarterback, really.
Oh, I've been going JD as my second one.
Yeah, that I like. JD, Fields, and Hurts. I've been doing stuff like that. Josh Allen yeah. All right, later, Sebastian. Stay away from that ADP you've been looking at. Later. Isn't Sebastian's it's once a show he just completely it's like I'm talking to my teenage daughter, about something where it's just like you're trying to explain them life and you're like, no, you can't do that. You can't put diesel in a regular vehicle. What are you doing? Once a show, Sebastian brings something wild that I'm just like, my voice gets high and I start screaming at him. I don't know what he's doing.
Consistent.
Yeah, he is consistent. ETN and Jacobs not there at 24 overall. Come on. What are we doing? You know the kind of talent that would be there if all these players were gone, all these running backs were gone. You'd be looking at a Marvin Harrison Jr. He would slip if you're talking about all those RBs being gone. Jordan Blue. Jordan Blue from Dallas. Why you call Jordan Blue?
Yo, what up, Smitty?
Why do we call you Jordan Blue?
Jordan Blue, that's a name I came up for myself, man.
Okay.
I didn't agree with my last name, so my alias is Jordan Blue.
Okay, I was just wondering if I called you that because you were, you had the blues or something. I don't know. Okay.
Man, I won first place last year, man. I ain't got no blues right now. We all good.
That's what I'm talking about. What can I do for you, Mr. Jordan Blue?
Nothing much. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, man. I know it's getting late. I just got a few things on my mind. There's a guy that I just cannot stop loving. And he ain't done nothing yet, but he did pretty decent with what he had last year, and that's Calvin Ridley. He looks like a monster, and I always want to build my team to have monsters. Every team has 1 to 3 monsters on their team, just a freak of nature, and they could just leave you in the dust at any point, right? And I like for the other team to look at my team and have that fear of just having no hope, honestly. So I wanted to get your thoughts on, I guess, Tennessee pass catchers. You've already touched on Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears. D-Hop's getting older. Will Levis is the QB there. I know this isn't a lot to talk about, but I feel like Calvin Ridley is such a specimen. He could surprise us all and be a top 8 receiver, just at looking at it, but I think he has potential for way more. What's your thoughts on Calvin Ridley, man?
I know Travis.
He has a good ADP as well.
Yeah, I know Travis likes him a lot this year. We've talked about it before, and I have been convinced to get back on board a little more, given his ADP is very, very solid at 65 to 70. You're talking about Brian Thomas Jr., Jordan Addison, Xavier Worthy, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, McLaurin, Hollywood.
I'm not
Brown.
Interested in any
Hollywood
of
Brown.
those guys over Calvin Ridley.
So I would say trust your gut on it because there's none of those names are scaring me into you're gonna regret this or whatever. I kind of like Hollywood Brown and McLaurin a little more, and Jaden Reed, he's right above him, but it's very arguable. So I'm not gonna try and convince you otherwise. Yeah. But let's look over across
Hollywood.
Let's look across the street here at the RB though. So 66 overall. I would say. You're talking about Kenneth Walker, Kamara, Aaron Jones, Monty Stevenson. Yeah, I'm okay with you passing
Not
on
in
those
love with
guys.
any of those,
Yeah,
honestly.
that doesn't worry me. Okay, so let me go to tight end. I would say
McBride is around there, maybe.
McBride's going 45 on underdog, so he's about 15, 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and then quarterback. So, I mean Joe Burrow, Richardson, Mahomes won't be there at that point. I don't know. I'm fine with it. I haven't seen a single name that scares that I say, oh my God, you gotta. But I guess I would say this. If you wanted me to give you one player, I would rather have over him.
Mm-hmm.
At wide receiver, 65 to 70.
I had him last year, and Ridley was the hardest player to play in my lineup. He was tough because one week he would do nothing.
Yeah.
And another week he would just show glimpses. He didn't show his full potential last year. But
my concern is that, yeah, like BTR, I kind of almost like Brian Thomas Jr. about as much. He's going into the same, well, not his role. I mean, apparently Gabe Davis is taking his role. And I like whoever's taking his role to not be not be the guy we want, because his role was stretching the field. So Gabe Davis is now the field. So I don't know, maybe BTR or BTJ. Maybe BTJ is a little bit more intriguing. I know he's a rookie, but I like Brian Thomas Jr. But I would say like McLaurin. If McLaurin were available, I'd rather have him 8 times out of 10. But I don't hate Ridley. Yeah. I think trust your gut, because that cost of entry is not bad at all, bro. But I'll let Travis speak to it real quickly, because he does like him a little bit more than I do. And, you know, some of it could be, and I admit this, and that's why I'm trying to be open-minded, is that we had him as a breakout last year, or a bounce back, and he didn't quite live up to the expectation. But I don't want to hold that against him necessarily, but I also don't like that wide receivers that move teams traditionally struggle a little bit. So the fact that he's been out of football so long and mixing that in, but his ADP's fine. I mean, it kind of packages in.
Still had a 1,000-yard season as well, too.
So did McLaurin, though, and McLaurin, I feel like with JD5 could have a huge...
He got it on the last game against Dallas, though. He barely got that 1,000 mark.
He's got JD5.
McLaurin, but yeah.
JD5, bro.
Yeah, he's got in the quarterback.
But go ahead, Travis.
Hold on one second, Smitty. Sorry.
Yeah.
Y'all were talking about the Bears, Smitty. Is DJ Moore clear-cut number 1 over there?
No.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry.
Why not?
Why not?
Because go ahead.
I mean, I would say no, because it's a new quarterback, so we don't know who he likes and his tendency to lean. And on top of that, you got Keenan Allen there that I don't think he stays healthy all year, but like. You have Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore. You might have a 2B, 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 or 2A, 2A, 2A. And on top of that, as I mentioned earlier, this could be a nothing burger, but everything Caleb's been in like 3 or 4 little controversies already. And one of them is that when they asked him to describe his team, he named everybody but DJ Moore. So I don't know what that was about. You could say it was like he misspoke or something, but there's a lot of people that wonder if the reason for that is there's a beef there. And, you know, DJ Moore is very vocal about not wanting to draft Caleb and wanting to keep Fields. But so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, he was in love with Fields. I mean, him and Fields had a pretty decent connection. I had that stack last year, and it worked out a couple games. And DJ Moore, wide receiver 6 in PPR. He had 1,300 yards with Tyler Badgett and Justin Fields.
He's a good receiver, man.
He could pop.
He's a good receiver, but who was there last year? Just him, you know, mainly. And now you got Odunze, who I believe has the makings of a top 5 to 10 wide receiver talent. I don't know if we'll ever get that out of him over there. And then you got Keenan Allen, who, while I do believe he drops off, when does that happen? And does he kind of linger all year, even if he doesn't fully drop off? That's 3 mouths to feed. in a system that clearly failed Fields. I do not believe for a second, and I don't care what anybody says, I don't feel like Fields failed Chicago. I think Chicago failed him. So until they prove otherwise, I don't believe they're putting Caleb in the best position to win until I see it, which I'll admit it if I see it. All right, real quickly, let Travis answer the Calvin Ridley thing, and then I'm going to let you jump off the phone here. Jordan, go ahead, pal.
With Ridley, like, I agree with the people that talk about how when Zay Jones was out, they had Ridley running all the deep routes, you know. And now that he's in Tennessee, I believe they really want to see what Levis can do. And, you know, he's got Hopkins there to run other routes, so you shouldn't see a ton of double teams. And just off of his pure talent, which I still think he has quite a bit left in the tank, mixed with them, you know, pushing the ball deep with Levis, I think he's, especially now with the ADP on top of it, there's pretty good value there.
I think in best ball, the part I and they're pretty cheap because they're going in the 65 to 75 territory. I kind of like the best ball drafts where I've taken Hopkins and Ridley, and they're like my wide receiver 3. You know,
that's an interesting.
Yeah, they could surprise us. They could surprise us because where's all that passing volume going to go? To both of them, more than likely. Yeah, and Derrick Henry is gone, so. But there's a lot in the backfield to be had too.
In non-best ball, I don't really like trying to pick which one, though. I know Hopkins could be considered the guy that you'd expect to drop off, but I don't like picking which one. But in best ball, I love having both of them as a third wide receiver because you don't have to decide which one to start each week, and I do believe one will do well each week. So it's kind of a crafty wide receiver 3, but I don't know about in non-best ball. And the thing that scares me about Ridley is that, you know, he did very well considering. I mean, you're right. And even that first time we broke down the stats, Travis, you know, it did open my eyes a little bit and say, wow, he still did really well. But I don't know. I can't shake that there's risk here, and I would only do it in a league or two. I would not do it across the board in all your leagues.
Yeah, I'm stuck drafting him as my maybe 5th or 6th rounder in redrafts.
Yeah,
and
compared to second round last year, that was a problem with him last year too. His ADP was out of control.
Second round? I guess he was a lot higher last year.
On underdog, he was getting in there.
Yeah, we were a victim to that too. We loved Ridley. I'll tell you what, you know, on the 5-player contests where we'd go higher or lower on the long-term yardage numbers, it was I had 5 players on one contest, you know, pretty much on all of them, and I had hit so many of those Jahmyr Gibbs and you know, Breece Hall, and I had just the best contests of like 4 guys on on majority. I'd say like 70% of mine were absolutely unreal. I landed pretty much everything, but on almost 95% of every one of those, I had Christian Watson, Jahan Dotson, or I think it was mainly those 2 guys on somewhere on one of those. On every, like, they were the final player, and it because for some reason I kept putting all my eggs in one basket, going Dotson and Christian Watson. I'm not going to miss on these guys, and good God, it literally wiped out. I did not diversify those 5-player contests. I don't know what that sound is. Somebody's got some major wind or something. I did not diversify those 5-player contests enough, so I'm going to stress diversification this year across, you know, anything, even if it's, you know, doing those higher lows on the season long stats. All right, hey, I got to jump. Jordan, appreciate you, bro. Call him tomorrow.
All right, Smitty, appreciate you.
Yeah, later. Rock out. Final thoughts.
Are we avoiding the Browns wide receiving core, like Cooper?
I'm okay with it in like a league. I just not my favorite. I mean, Amari Cooper's falling pretty good, I think, right? Isn't he a pretty good value? I mean, he's not even.
I think so.
Yeah, he's like 53 overall. So Roma, Dunze, Rasheed Rice, Christian Kirk, Jaden Reed, McLaurin, not McBride, McLaurin, Ridley. Yeah, that's about where Cooper should go. Sure, that's good value. I wouldn't take him in every league, as I've just been preaching, because I don't trust Deshaun Watson.
Too.
He'll probably have a rotation of quarterback at some point, but Cooper's good value there. That's really good value. There's nothing scary about that. Which is saying a lot, because I always kind of have something negative about Cooper, where I'm a little cautious on him, but.
Yeah, no.
All right, later, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, that's it.
Travis, final thoughts.
I was just going to ask you, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, do you think the fact that Pickens is their number one, which we like, do you think they could end up thin at wide receiver, though? Because there's and the risk with, I hope Fields takes over, but with Russell Wilson there, if he doesn't do well or they stick with him too long, and then I think all they have, correct me if I'm wrong, is Pickens, Roman Wilson, Miles Austin, who is an interesting sleeper too, and then I don't know, maybe they'll sign a Tyler Boyd or something like that. But don't you think that could prove to be pretty thin? And I know Ron Navy won't like to hear that he loves Wilson, but he's still a rookie,
I mean, they're actively, and they were actively, and they might still be actively in just seeing who's available. That's why I said Debo's got a 5% chance still of being traded, or it's 5 to 8%. It's a very small chance, but he's probably pretty unhappy. And if Debo put up a big enough stink, they might be get rid of him, I guess. But because if Debo has a bad year, they won't be able to get anything for him. Right now, they could get a lot for him. And if they really believe in what their plan of attack looks like, where it's headed, Ricky Parasol, and they're replacing guys, and they want to sign Ayuk, and I mean, it's certainly possible, but I think because Higgins,
just curious.
I think if, let's say, Brian Thomas Jr. fell to Cincinnati, we might see Higgins end up in Pittsburgh, but they didn't do that, so.
True. Yeah. All right, cool.
All right, later, Travis.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, I'm out of here, guys. Appreciate everyone in here. Hit that thumb up button. We got 178 total in here. 108 from YouTube. Hit that thumb up button. 70 from Twitter, a.k.a. X. If you're on X, make sure you get on over to the Fantasy Football Show on the YouTube. Top 25 ADP Steel Show. Thank you for joining me. It was a 2 hour and 26 minute and 50 second, as of this moment anyway, graveyard stream. So pretty good amount of time we were here. Appreciate you all. See you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll probably do, I think we're gonna do I know I don't want to beat a dead horse on the Gibbs topic, and we always open the phone lines and have a great show anyway, so it'll be like a 10-15 minute monologue on it, but I think tomorrow there'll definitely be Jahmyr Gibbs is turned into the best pick in fantasy football for 2024. Kyron's up there. Achan's up there, Breece Hall's up there, Bijan's up there. There's still tremendous value for all those guys, but Gibbs right here dropping, and Marvin Harrison Jr. about to leapfrog him even and drop him even more. He's the best pick in fantasy. Jahmyr Gibbs, best pick in fantasy 2024. That video is coming tomorrow. I'll see you all later.
Breece Hall is 8 foot tall. He will always answer the mother freaking call. Don't let him fall. In the third, don't stall. Just give Batman the freaking football.
He's Breece. He's Breece.
He does a hull of a job. A hull of a job. A hull of a job.
Breece Hall, please report to the moon.
He does a hell of a job.
Hi. What would you like? Footballs, please. Lots of footballs, please. Coming up. He's Marvin, he's 11 feet tall, and he loves to consume the football. He's Kyler, he's 4 feet tall, but starving Marvin will answer the call. They're Kyler and Marvin.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Live when big news breaks. Live during graveyard streams on top of all of that, which is what this show is. This isn't even the 8 p.m. show, Eastern, Monday through Friday. This isn't even the live when big news breaks show. This is just a graveyard, a late night, midnight show, Eastern. And that's the way it goes. Best one's The Lion King. Here we go.
I'm a Cardinal, A, I'm a Cardinal. 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 The Cardinals look to be rising, and MHJ is your king.